This episode is brought to you by RAYCON. Ready for a sequel that's better than the original? RAYCON's fan favorite everyday earbuds classic are back with an upgrade, now featuring active noise cancellation. RAYCONs offer top-tier audio quality you can bring with you wherever you go, with 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. So whether you're playing your favorite tunes, making phone calls, or listening to this podcast, RAYCONs are the best way to do it. Go to buyraycon.com/command to get 20% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/command.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
How's it? It's Josh Lee Kwai.
And today, we're talking...
How's it turns right into thwipping.
Yeah. That's true. It's just it's the
you
pointer.
Just add a finger.
The
like
pointer.
Okay.
See, Josh was the Spider-Man all along. All along. Today we're talking about Spider-Man. We're talking about the cards that go in the 99, the ones that you need to know about for your decks and for when they're across the table from you. If they come down, we need to know how scared to be of these things. What do we think is going to happen? Do we think these cards are even good? Let's find out. We're going to jump right into it with...
Spoiler alert, the first one's good.
Yeah. It's been spoiled for a long time. It hints at a very powerful new cycle coming out, and the first one's a doozy.
Yeah, it is the Soul Stone. It's 1 and a black for a legendary artifact, Infinity Stone. It is indestructible. Mm-hmm. You can tap it to add black, and it also has another activated ability, which is 6 and a black, and then tap it and exile a creature you control, and then it says harness the Soul Stone, and then it has reminder text. Once harnessed, its infinite ability is active, has the infinity symbol, which is the sideways 8. And then you might be asking, like, what is the infinity ability or infinite ability? It says at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it kind of does an old school Shieldred.
Yeah, like Portal to Phyrexia minus the ETB.
Minus the mean part.
Minus the powerful part. But this is great. I mean, there's so much to like about this, starting with just the fact that it's a 2-mana untapped rock.
That has indestructible.
Yeah.
So it's just already kind of better than most mana rocks without the harness thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just 2 mana, taps are colored mana. It protects itself from Vandal Blasts and the like, and then has more upside from there. I remember you and I spent a lot of time talking about Herd Heirloom, which is the green 2-mana rock that was from Tarkir Dragonstorm, and we were like, this is a push.
Yeah, and then the designers from Spider-Man said, hold my beer.
Yeah, hang on. Now we've got a really powerful one for you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the Soul Stone.
I think this is this probably a staple without the harness ability. If it's just a 2-mana rock, untapped, indestructible.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a mythic at that point, but it would be like, we play that in every deck that has black, probably.
Right.
That runs the 2-mana rocks.
And then it just also has another upside, which is a significant upside.
It is. This harness ability, it looks expensive. It's 7 mana, you exile a creature, but you can do that at instant speeds. You can do it in response to a board wipe. You can do it in response to a removal spell. You can do it on end step, untap, reanimate something. When does this trigger? Yeah, upkeep.
Yep.
And it's indestructible. So you're protected even if you do exile a creature, the payoff is coming. Like, the fact that this is so powerful and just sits on the board the entire game and is difficult to remove, and then has this very powerful effect in the late game, just says, like, to me, it says we need to run more exile target artifact effects for this and the One Ring. Like, the indestructible artifacts are becoming more and more common, and they're all very scary. Yeah,
exile non-land permanent at the very least, I think, is going up in value for sure. I like a good Grasp of Fate and stuff like that still to this day because it gets something from everybody.
Yeah.
That could be at least hit the Soul Stone, at least turn off the harness ability.
Yeah, slow it down.
Yeah, something. But like, this is going to be a card that you're going to see a lot of because I believe pretty much like if black is in your deck, you probably run this. I think the only time you maybe wouldn't is if you're very low on creature count, which is not that common for a black deck since Reanimator is such a common theme for black, but if you could imagine a deck that has black, maybe it's 5 color, but there's only like 5 creatures in the whole deck. Maybe you'd still run this, I think, though. Just the indestructible.
It's just kind of free.
It's still good, yeah.
So there's a couple things that are limiting to it. Like, yes, if you don't have creatures, it can only target creatures in your graveyard. So like that part maybe doesn't do anything. But yeah, you're right. The indestructible taps for black mana means that you probably do.
Like, what did you lose by playing it? Like, it didn't screw up your deck at all.
For me, the only limitation of if this goes in decks is how expensive this card's going to be.
Like, money-wise.
Yeah. Like, if this is a $35 card, we're not going to see it that often.
Well, that sucks if, we're getting cards that are powerful enough that, and then that goes into the pay to win thing that people sometimes complain about Magic. So if that's true, like, that's not the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, part of the limitation as to why you don't see the Great Henge all the time is the Great Henge is $70 or something insane, right?
Because it does just go in every green deck.
Yeah.
But like the reason it's actually not literally in every green deck is cost, yeah.
So that really brings us to something interesting about cards like this is clearly pushed. This is clearly an effect that we want. This is clearly pushed to the point that it is better than anything that we play regularly. Like, I guess it's the Soul Stone, and it has a Soul Stone, but there's at least 4 more of these things coming.
Yeah, that's part of this discussion is the fact that, like, we know, right, most people in the world have seen Avengers at this point.
Yeah.
So we know the Infinity Gauntlet holds the Infinity Stones. Soul Stone is one of 5 stones.
Yeah.
So we can kind of extrapolate. And they've got like a very special treatment of this card that's probably going to exist for others. They're not doing the 1-of-1 thing.
Mm-hmm. But they do like the gilded printing of
They're
this
doing
one.
like a sort of version of that, but it's literally not. There's only one of this one version of it, but they could have. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Gauntlet or something will have that. But we can sort of assume there's going to be 4 more of these. Probably 1 for each other color.
I assume they're 2-mana rocks. I assume they're indestructible.
I assume they have a harness ability, right? Yeah. Because there's that infinite symbol. You wouldn't just create that for this one card. Mm-hmm.
It's also a type of artifact, is a Infinity Stone.
Yeah, so it seems likely we'll get 1 for each color, and it seems likely that they'll all be sort of pushed in this way. Pushed, in quotation marks, is like what we're saying is they've taken the power level and pushed it up, and it sort of means like borderline too powerful in this case, where it's like, is that good for the game that they're pushing it this far? Is sort of my question to it. Like, from a design standpoint, do we like that they're making cards like this?
I mean, there was a specific segment before I even worked on the show that was stop printing 2-mana rocks. This was two Magic designers. There was a whole segment that was about
like 3 years ago or something.
Stop doing this. Yeah. And they really did. For a while, they sort of reprinted the 2-mana rocks that we had. We got 3-mana rocks with upside, with various upsides, some of them better than others.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see it creep into the 2-mana rocks a few years later. And it's like, yeah.
I mean, power creep is inevitable as cards come out because, let's imagine they create sets and those cards in those sets are not powerful enough to make it into decks. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't really envision how that works from a standpoint of like the game continuing to be relevant, right? Like people, first of all, they need to sell cards, but also like you get bored with the game if you're just playing the same cards forever. There has to be some new stuff coming in. And for the most part, new stuff coming in is often going to mean a little more powerful than what was there before. That's how you often choose like, I got to put this in and take this out because this is better than that. Even if it's not a direct, hey, it does the exact same thing. It just like, my evaluation is this is more powerful for whatever reason.
I think the thing that bothers me about this card is it's so clearly more powerful. It's effects we've seen before on cards. Like, this isn't an exciting card.
Right.
This isn't one I look at and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to find a spot for this. Like, what a neat effect.
Yeah. There's a deck I never thought of and now it could exist. That's not this.
This is a 2-mana rock that we play a lot of already. It's got a reanimate effect that goes on Shieldred. It's on Portal to Phyrexia. It's on, like, we've seen these effects before.
Right.
And we're just like, what if we staple them together, repackage and sell? And that's frustrating. Like, this is a very special, like, iconic thing in the Marvel universe, right? These stones. And to have them just sort of be 2-mana rocks that are like, it makes my curve a little better, just feels a little disappointing to me. And I wish it had a little bit more fanfare.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'm on the side of like, I don't like pushing the format in the way this pushes it, which is just kind of speeds it up, right? Another 2-mana rock you can run. Maybe you replace another 2-mana rock with it, but this has another ability and is just good in different ways. You maybe even just replace another effect with this and just get your deck a little faster with ramp. So I'm on the side of like, I don't love the speeding up of the format and that stuff. And again, we made that video a few years ago saying like, hey, we're speeding up too fast. But let's play devil's advocate here from the other standpoint, which is like, we've got Marvel coming in. You're going to make the Infinity Stones.
Yep.
It would be a pretty big miss if you designed those and they weren't like good or powerful. If they didn't feel powerful. And then also when you look at something like the One Ring, I don't know if I want them doing that either.
Sure, yeah. Colorless.
Yeah, so it's like, well, and also just like, it's not a mana rock.
Nope.
But
it's just powerful, yeah.
Yeah, it is stapling together effects we've seen, but I think it's really hard these days for Magic cards not to do that in some way, because just like most things have been done. But yeah, I just mean if you're in the parameters of like, hey, listen, we're going to make the Infinity Stones, we pretty much have to make them powerful because it wouldn't make sense if they're not, then we're going to get something like this in some way, shape, or form. It's just not that surprising. And honestly, because of that, not that disappointing either, because I can't imagine the parallel universe where they're like, Soul Stone, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to play it. That's, you know, that'd be a big dud as well. So
that's true. They're sort of stuck on this one. I mean, like, I think it's a fine card. I think it's annoying that if I want to build my deck well, I need to buy 15 of these, and that's going to be, you know, a certain cost.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the reality. I think most players, if they open one, will put it in a deck, and if they don't open one, won't pay $30 for it to put it in their deck.
Yeah, and I would caution people about thinking in that way about it. Like I've talked about many times on the show, so have you, about like, you know, I have X amount, you know, before Mana Crypt was banned, I had more Mana Crypts than I had in decks. I think like 6 or 7, and maybe 2 or 3 were in decks, and the other 4 were in a binder. Because I just didn't want the decks to be more powerful. So you don't have to just build the best version of your deck, and therefore, if you don't have that many Soul Stones, that's fine. You've got maybe the one you've got, put it in the one deck that wants to be that powerful, and it's okay that your other decks are not. You don't need to be like, oh, I need the best thing in every slot for every, you know, for every effect.
Yeah, this isn't.
Just don't let that get you down. Is what I'm saying.
Of course.
Like,
yeah. For some reason, this one doesn't feel like a Mana Crypt or like even a Cyclonic Rift, where if you put it in a deck, it's going to raise the power level.
Right, it's probably not a game changer.
Because it's not a game changer. Yeah. So it's like, it's a very powerful effect that every deck like could reasonably play. And
probably should.
And it's, if you're drawing lines in terms of power level where it's like, I wouldn't play Mana Drain, that kind of thing, I think the Soul Stone would be below that line. So it's like, it's a very weird spot for me where I'm like, fine. But yes, it's good. And if you have one, you should play it because it is that good and it will feel good in the early game and the late game.
It's good.
It is.
It's good. Yep.
All right.
The next card's a little more interesting.
There's a big splashy one, which I think is fun.
And it has that fun meme on it, although they only got part of the meme. I don't know why they didn't fit the whole thing.
Zoom out a little bit,
just
guys.
show me the whole meme.
Yeah, there's so much wall in this picture. It's Imposter Syndrome. It's 4 blue for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. So any creature that you hit, you get a copy of it.
Unless it's already a token, yeah.
Yes.
It's, you put, this is such a commander card.
It's just such a commander card. It's such a big, dumb, like, if I have a cool thing, now I'll have 2.
Well, yeah, and you can dream really big. As soon as you read it, you're like, well, I could make a copy of my whole board. What if I hit it with 6 creatures?
That's awesome.
A token copy of all of them. Yeah.
And you're like, if you can hit with 6 creatures,
you probably are winning.
You're probably pretty good. Probably doing good. Like, it's definitely a win more card. It's definitely like a big over-the-top snowball-y card. But there's something, like, there's definitely some decks that I can envision this being like awesome. And the first thing I thought of was commanders with double strike.
Oh yeah, because you make 2 token copies.
Yeah, like imagine Loot the Pathfinder with this card.
Sure, yep, that's pretty crazy.
Loot, this
has
is
Vigi and Haste too. So
Vigi, Haste, double strike.
So you just immediately get to use them all.
And it has
too.
Exhaust, so you get 2 more copies of Loot
that aren't exhausted.
So you can draw.
You have to get in there,
cards.
which if they see this, they might block. It doesn't have evasion. But yeah, I mean. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, your deck has to be able to deal combat damage.
Yeah.
If it can't do that, this card, you can't put it in your deck.
Right.
But if that's like a main like I'm hitting people and that reliably happens every game, then this could be really good. I think you want to be able to play it and get 2 token copies that turn. Like I think you want that to be a normal situation for you. It's turn 6 or maybe turn 5 when I'm about to play it. And in most games, I'm able to hit with 2 creatures, non-token creatures on that turn. Then this becomes like, I think quite good because you get those 2 clone copies right away and then it's just gravy from there. I think if you got 2 copies of almost anything, if there were 1-drops, maybe not, but like almost anything, you're going to be pretty happy with that outcome. And then I like being in those situations where it's like, I got what I got, I'm happy. But if they don't deal with this thing, I'm going to get more, and then this becomes potentially game winning. But if they do deal with it, I got 2 clones.
Yeah.
And they didn't kill the clones, they had to kill the thing that made the clones. So like, I'm pretty far ahead in that scenario.
Yeah, you ate a removal spell and are still up 2 cards, essentially. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to imagine a world where you play this and you're just so far ahead at that point that it's very difficult to slow you down without a board wipe.
Right.
Of course, if there is a board wipe, it doesn't do anything for you that turn. So there's like the ups and downsides of these big splashy enchantments are always true. It doesn't do anything if you don't have anything. It will do a lot when you do have a lot.
Yep.
But there are certain decks that I can imagine it just being like exactly what you want. And it's particularly ones that I think you're putting evasive flyers in to trigger your commander, like an Edric Spymaster of Trust type deck.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you don't want to commit a ton of flyers to the board if you can just keep making more tokens and attacking with more and making more of them. Then you can spend your mana on disruption spells or on
then
extra
it's all
turn
about
spells.
protection,
Yeah, then you're not committing more to the board at that point. And I think that feels really good, like a Felix 5 boots type situation. Obviously, that's really good because you get 2.
Yeah. Yeah, anything that's doubling tokens or cares about tokens, this is going to get a lot better. But I agree with what you said. Like, I would just evaluate your deck from the standpoint of on the turn that I play a land and I have access to 6 mana, am I usually able to hit with 2 creatures at that point? Or 1 creature with double strike, which counts as 2 creatures, right? Because you're going to make 2 clones.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's probably like pretty marginal if most games it's like I only can hit with 1. Then it's a 6 mana conditional clone.
Right.
It's got upside because it could stick around, but at that point, like, should you just play stunt double?
Maybe.
Yeah, but if it's like, hey, you do this analysis and you're like, I have a 70% chance to be hitting with 2 creatures on the turn that I get access to my 6th mana, I would really think about putting that card in my deck then because it's pretty good. Play, make 2 clones, go, and they're like, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is like, if you're not making 2 clones, you do want like a big token. Like you want to copy a dragon or a sphinx or something awesome. Like if you have big, like if you're a Miram deck, you're designed to copy dragons. Those are evasive creatures. Your commander is evasive. Making copies of Miram is disgusting.
Right.
With decks like that, snowballing is the point. So it feels like having something that escalates that snowball. It probably shortens the clock like maybe a whole turn if you are copying 2 big things a turn. But you're right. If you want something a little bit more efficient, that definitely does it. That
reliable is what I'd say.
Reliable. Yeah. All right. Imposter Syndrome is a pretty cool card. But we've got lots of cards to talk about. If you want to pick up any of those cards while you're supporting the show, you can go to cardkingdom.com/command and use our affiliate link. Card Kingdom has a huge selection of singles, of sealed product. There's really cool products for Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
They have a lot of like different gift bundles and sealed product. So check out Card Kingdom, see what they're offering. Hopefully they'll have exactly the card you're looking for and exactly the printing. And they can get that to you safely and professionally quickly. We trust Card Kingdom with all of our card shopping needs because they have a ton of cards and we want a ton, and it's nice when they all show up in one package. So support the show and pick up some sweet cards by going to cardkingdom.com/command.
And of course, once you get those cards, you want to keep them protected, especially if you pull like a Soul Stone or something like that. It's probably going to be pretty valuable. You don't want to get dinged up. Ultra Pro is the game accessories brand that we trust our own collections to here at the Command Zone. If you go to ultrapro.com/command, you can find all kinds of cool products, but also good deals. I love their website, Ultra Pro in particular, because they often have discounts and things like that. They also have the licensing agreement with Wizards of the Coast, so they have a lot of the Magic IP and Universes Beyond IP on playmats, deck boxes, sleeves. If you haven't tried the new Apex sleeves, they are the best printed sleeves on the market. You know, in the past and through other brands, you might get printed sleeves that are kind of sticky. They don't shuffle very well. Apex sleeves, they have that buttery shuffle feel. Yeah, I've been slowly switching all my decks over to the Apex sleeves because we have the Game Nights ones from before, and they keep releasing new ones with every set. So again, ultrapro.com/command. They make the best products to protect your game pieces.
Yeah, and the final way you can support us is directly by going to patreon.com/command-zone. Our patrons are the best. They help us keep the lights on over here. Plus, they get cool perks like seeing extra turns, game nights a day early without ads. At certain tiers, you can even watch a conversation we have after every episode of Extra Turns. It's called Turn Talk, where we just talk about the game that happened.
It's like a post-game show for like a football game or something. I really like it, yeah.
We talk about like what we learned from that game and what moments were really important and
what mistakes maybe we made. I wish I did that or
or like,
if I'd have known that.
This card messed me up.
Yep.
Those kind of conversations. It's really fun, and that only goes to our patrons at certain tiers. So check that out. Plus, we support one lucky patron every single podcast episode, and this one is dedicated
to Ty Shelter.
Ty, you rock.
You rock, Ty. All right, back to the Spider-Man cards in the 99. We got the next one. It is Agent Venom.
Yeah.
2 and a black for a 2/3 legendary symbiote soldier hero. Has Flash and Menace. It says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life.
Okay.
So we've seen a number of incarnations of this effect, like it, and it's usually at 3 cost, and there's like very slight differences. And this one has a couple, well, really 1 new wrinkle, I'd say.
Right.
That's the Flash, right?
The Flash is the big deal. We've seen like 3 2s and 2 3s, and sometimes once per turn, and sometimes only your creatures.
Right.
Sometimes you lose life, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's may, sometimes you must.
It's a musical.
It's a musical about death. But the big difference with this one is it has Flash, and that's kind of it's cool. You can do some neat stuff with it. You could flash it in response to a board wipe, draw cards for each of is it just your it's just your non-token creatures.
Yep.
Draw that many cards. You could flash it in on end step, untap, have a much bigger turn than your opponents were ready for. Those are the 2 that I can see the Flash really coming in big.
Yeah, and I think that is, we always talk about instant speed and Flash and how important it is when you play out games, and it's very important on an effect like this because of the fact that, like you said, they go to remove something or a board wipe or something is about to happen. You can flash this in, get a bunch of value. Also, just the ability to hold up your removal, hold up your interaction. Oh, nothing scary happened. Flash this out, untap, and be ready to go with your sack outlets and everything, and know that you're more secure in getting your value maybe than if you'd played it out at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
And your opponents may make different choices because they can't see this, right? Like they wouldn't have board wiped if they knew, if this was like on the battlefield staring at them, because it's like, wow, why would I board wipe? They're just going to draw 5 cards, but they didn't know it was there. So that there's just a lot of power in that. The question is like how you weigh it against the other ones. Midnight Reaper was like the original, and I think kind of the most restrictive as far as it doesn't really do anything extra. It's like the vanilla version of this, right? So there's the Morph on Grim Hero Specs, which I think is not as good as Flash and or Menace.
Yep.
But then Morbid Opportunist is like, hey, I draw when other creatures my opponents control die.
Yeah.
And that's an entirely different prospect. So that feels better than Agent Venom for me. So this is kind of maybe in the number 2 slot of these 4.
I would
That's
think
how
so.
I rank it.
Yeah. Morbid Opportunist, I think, is still the best, and you can just control it so much better. It incidentally gets you so much more value. But we play both Grim Horror Specs and Midnight Reaper plenty, so I expect to see lots of play from Agent Venom as well.
Do you think that for the most part, people will run all 4 of these, or do you think that Agent Venom will push out one of those other 2 and you'll continue to run 3?
I think you probably run all 4. I think just having synergistic card draw is so good. It's on a creature. It's easy to reanimate. It's good to sacrifice. It just goes really well in decks like this. So I expect with that, I think I would just add it to the package.
Yeah, we didn't say Morbid Opportunist is also on. It works for token creatures, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it doesn't work on a board wipe though because it's 1 or more. So. I always find it impressive how they balance those various things. Like, oh, turn this dial, but turn this one down. And it's like, is that better? And it's like, it feels like it is, but it's not as far apart as you think because, Anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I think Age of Venom is going to see a lot of play. Aristocrats decks are one of the most popular decks in the format. So this is going to find a home. You're probably going to want not as many as you would want Soul Stones, but a number of these.
Yeah. All right, up next we have Araña, Heart of the Spider. 1 red-white for a spider human hero. She's a 3/3. It says, whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So any of your creatures, if they have +1 counters on them and they hit, you impulse draw 1 card. If they're equipped, if they're enchanted, you can draw as many of the creatures as hit, I believe. Exile whenever one of them deals combat
Whenever
damage.
a modified creature. So if you have 3 modified creatures deal combat damage, you will impulse draw 3.
Yep.
And this gives you at least 1 modified creature every combat.
Right.
Because you can play this and give the 1/1 counter to something that was already on the battlefield that doesn't have summoning sickness, attack, and get this trigger right away. Right. Which means the turn you play this, I guess you'd probably already played your land, so there's nothing you can really hit, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
But maybe you turn this on turn 4, and you give the +1/+1 counter to your 3-drop from last turn, your Professional Facebreaker. That'd be pretty good. And then attack. Hopefully you hit a land, but if you don't, you might even be able to cast it with the treasures off Professional Facebreaker. This is a pretty good scenario. I want to do this.
Yeah. Oh, Josh is looking at a Boros card. This one really made me think of Inti. Of course, it's 1 more mana than Inti, but it gives you a +1/+1 counter. It gives you an impulse card draw for this turn. But Araña is more balanced for multiple creatures than where Inti is a lethal threat, like sort of on its own. Araña scales with all of your synergy.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Inti is also
Inti
on attack too, which Araña is on combat damage where you get the impulse draw. So your opponent has some ability to deny you that.
Right. But you could potentially draw more than
usually when
Inti.
you're adding a +1/+1 counter to something, you almost always have an attack on somebody, at least especially early. And then I would assume this is going in a deck that other ways to modify creatures. I don't think you're probably putting. Hey, actually, you could think about it. That maybe that's a discussion. But in my mind, it's like, oh, my deck already has a few ways to, at least a few ways, even if it's not dedicated to modifying. And then I'm way more likely to at least be able to get in with 1 or 2. Yeah,
that's definitely how I look at this card. Is I think this effect is good. I think the potential to draw a couple of cards that you can play this turn is good. The question is, where does it live best? Does it have to be in a modified deck, equipment, auras, counters? Does it have to be like in a tokens deck? Do you have to want to be going wide? Or is this something you could put in a Cast from Exile deck, for example, that may not have additional synergies, but would lean pretty heavily on that +1/+1 counter that you're divvying up?
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure the answer to, because there are some arguments to be made for the fact that it can just sort of be seen as card advantage in a deck that isn't otherwise focused on modifying things. The Cast from Exile deck's interesting because it wants the impulse draw. Yeah, and I think you would just have to evaluate, like, how likely am I going to be able to attack? It gets a lot better for, let's say, your commander's a 2-drop. Because then you follow with this, you come in, the sequencing works nice. Or maybe even a 3-drop for that scenario I was talking about. It gets a little bit worse maybe if your commander's a 4-drop and you're not focused on getting creatures out that it can attack. Because then you're kind of a turn behind. When do you play this? That's how I would think about it, I guess. How about you?
That's the interest. I was looking at this for my PA deck, which is a 2-mana commander. It's in Boros. It cares about casting stuff from exile, and it has evasive flyers. But
Copters.
I don't have a ton of equipment. I have some. I don't have a ton of counters. I have some. So it's like I could probably make this work enough that it goes in that deck, but it may not be exactly the best piece. So it's very interesting. I think it lives in a cool spot where it's like, I think there's some decks where it's going to feel absolutely broken. And I think Pia might be one of those decks. And just 1 counter is enough because you put 1 counter on a Thopter, you hit, you exile, and then hypothetically next turn
on a different
you
Thopter.
hit, now you impulse draw 2 more. So it scales really well, but it doesn't feel particularly busted, which is cool. So I like this card a lot. I don't know how much we'll see of it because it's 2 colors, but
yeah, it just naturally can only go in decks that have Boros in them. So yeah. All right, the next card is Chameleon, Master of Disguise. It is 3 and a blue for a 2/3 legendary human shapeshifter villain. You may have Chameleon enter as a copy of a creature you control, except his name is Chameleon, Master of Disguise. But it also has Mayhem, 2 and a blue. And Mayhem is kind of like Madness, but not the exact same. So here we go. You may cast this card from your graveyard for 2 and a blue. If you discarded it this turn, timing rules still apply.
Yeah. So the big difference between Madness and Mayhem is Madness is when you discard it, you can cast it. So you can do whatever at instant speed. Mayhem says like, hey now. We're slightly more organized, which is funny for Mayhem. You do have to cast it when you could cast a creature.
But you can do it this turn too. So you, if let's say Inti or something that triggers in combat to make you discard, you know, you discard the Mayhem card. You don't have to decide at that moment whether or not you're casting it. You can do your rummaging and everything else, look at all the options and be like, before I go to my end step, I am going to cast this Chameleon or whatever.
Yeah.
Madness is cool because it gets... I'm talking about Madness because it gets around timing restrictions, but that's not the only reason that's cool. Another reason that's cool is because you were discarding a card, which was the loss of a card, and you turn that into a card you cast, which is not the loss of a card. So generally, when you pair it up with something like looting or rummaging, you're up a card in those exchanges. So it kind of is card advantage in a lot of ways.
Right.
It turns Faithless Looting into, hey, I get one more card out of it, which Faithless Looting is already good and looks pretty dang good when you do it with something like Chameleons. So that's kind of the upside, I'd say. Otherwise, you look at this and you compare it to like Sakashima and the other things that do a similar thing. How do you rank it in that sort of world?
Well, all of these are very expensive, very played card.
Yep.
Like even Spark Double that has been reprinted out the wazoo is still like $9.
Yep.
So I expect Chameleon will see plenty of play. I expect we're going to see a lot of this card. We like cloning legendaries.
We like cloning our commander because, hey, double my commander's effect, that seems like a good idea. I build my whole deck around it.
Right. I like this one better than Sakashima the Imposter because of the single blue, so it's easier to splash. It doesn't have that bounce ability that you can like return Sakashima to your hand and replay it to clone something else.
The OG one, yep.
Yeah. But I haven't found that to be super, super relevant. So
maybe I've seen that happen 5 times in my entire commander career.
I think the Mayhem is much stronger than that additional upside on Sakashima the Imposter. I think it's worse than Sakashima of 1,000 Faces that has that added the legendary rule doesn't matter side of it. That's just additional upside that if you're cloning a legend already, you're probably taking advantage of that line of text. And I would say it's very comparable to Spark Double, probably a little better. I would think Mayhem's a little bit better than the +1/+1 counter, unless, of course, you're copying a Planeswalker. In that case, Spark Double is much better because Chameleon can't do that.
Can't do that at all, yeah.
But I don't think that is the relevant side of Spark Double most of the time. So I would say that it's like Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, Chameleon, Spark Double, Sakashima the Imposter.
Yeah, I think the Mayhem to me is interesting because I'm often building decks with looters and looting. I love looting and rummaging in general, and you're often looking for cards that you might want to Madness or like get that card advantage out of. And this kind of almost, what's the MDFC, Glasspool Mimic, I think, the MDFC that like, oh yeah, sometimes I might want to make a clone.
Yeah, I still run it fairly often.
Yeah, so I think it may sit in that spot for some decks where it's like, oh, this will give me a little bit of card advantage. I can clone, and maybe I just clone the looter or whatever, but maybe I just make another Kitsa or something like that. But like, I'd want 2 Kitsas, so... And I'm up a card rather than card parity on my looting or whatever. So I can see it getting some play in those respects. I like to do that a decent amount in decks. Is just like, oh, incidentally, I put a few cards in there that like have flashback or whatever that I don't mind.
Yeah. You know. And these 2-mana looters are so common lately. Like the game
Incredible.
nights, the last couple of game nights have had, every single one of them have had at least one rummaging deck, including the Spider-Man one, or like looting or rummaging one.
Yeah.
It's like,
it feels so good. You just look at, okay, nope, not that one. Oh, I want that one.
But they're all in different stuff. Like there was the discarding deck, and then I played a reanimation deck, and you played a discarding deck, and they're like,
look at how many decks it's good in too. It's just like, oh, I want things in my graveyard. Yeah, I want my second draw. I think looters and rummaging has gotten way better, and there's more of it than there ever has been, and this gets better in that world. And spoiler alert, there's going to be a card later that's in this same mold, except it's red. And yeah, I think that this like looting, rummaging thing has really been gaining a lot of momentum over recent years. So that's another reason why I think Chameleon's going to be pretty good, and we're probably going to see it a decent amount. Yeah.
Nice that this is an uncommon. I hope it's like, if you open them, don't throw them out, because this card's going to be really playable.
Yep.
All right.
This next one is weird.
It's weird. I wanted to talk about it.
I was like, this is a Rachel card.
It's Cheering Crowd. For 1 and a hybrid Gruul, so it could either be red or green. It's a 2/2 human citizen. At the beginning of each player's first main phase, that player may put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. If they do, they add colorless for each counter on it. So you play this thing, you pass to your opponent. They can choose to put a counter on it and add a colorless or not and get nothing.
Right.
Loser. Just kidding. And then each player gets that choice. So hypothetically, if everyone takes it, the first player gets 1 mana, the second player gets 2 mana, the third player gets 3, and you untap and get 4. If no one takes it, it's 0/0/0, and you get 1.
Right.
So this is obviously sort of a tempt card. That you get to take advantage of last, but if people did take the tempt, you get, regardless of if people take the tempt, you take the most advantage of it when you do get it, because
each successive person takes the most advantage of it.
Yeah, but you do it last, so you get
then
the
it goes
the
again
most.
Though after that. There's no last, right? Like you pass it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you win though.
Yeah, I mean you untap. You play 2 mana. You untap
mana.
with 4. Yeah, 4 colorless mana. You have 7 mana on turn 3, but your opponent had 6 and this opponent had 5. So it's definitely dangerous.
It is sort of, your brain starts running through the scenarios and it's really hard to figure out what's going to happen. I think it has to do a lot with like what kind of players you're likely to play against. If you know your play group pretty well, like if Jimmy's in the game, he's going to take it.
Yeah.
Almost no matter what. So you have to know like, is that good? Do I want them to? Do I not want them to? Mm-hmm. I think that's the other thing I was thinking about this card is like when you play it, what are you hoping happens? Is it that it gets back to you and you put the 4th counter on it? Or is that it gets back to you and you put the first counter on it? Which one? I think it's the 4, right?
I think it's the 4, but that's kind of the fun part. I love the player that doesn't. Like, if it's Jimmy's to your right and he puts a counter on it, adds a mana. And then the next player is like, well, Jimmy did it. I want to do it. And they play a counter and they add 2 mana. And then the third player is like, well, I don't want to feed because they're going to untap with 1 million. So they get nothing. That feels terrible.
See, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me because they're going to get 1 less than you got.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 more than their opponents got.
Right.
So once it's kind of gone, it feels like it makes sense to just do it if you can use the mana. The one that makes the most sense to me that somebody wouldn't do it is the first one, because if they look at their hand, they just can't spend the 1 extra mana. And there are just some turns where it just doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, well, I can't use that mana, so I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
But it would have to make it past 3 people with that scenario, which is unlikely.
Right. They definitely. That's the interesting thing about this is like if your opponents take the tempt, that means they are taking advantage of the mana. Yeah. Like that means they are doing it.
Yeah, because they draw its first main, so they know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll play my commander a turn early, I guess. Like that. They will be able to take advantage of it. So you know that it's not like some advantage that your opponents are like not really taking full advantage of, at least in the first rotation. In the second, once it gets bigger enough that everybody has like this much colored or
you have to
mana,
take it because you're just 6. If you were like, hey, I could put the 6 counter on it or not. Yeah. Well, I'm just down 6 mana to the person after me if I don't, and I almost have to because at least in the scenario where I take it, I'm only down 1 mana to them.
Right.
So like it starts to be like you have to do it. The other thing I think that could happen, which happens with the temp cards, is your opponents could
not
collaborate and say, listen, let's just agree we're not going to do it. And then the card's not that great for them, right? Like they played a 2 mana 2/2 that becomes a 3/3 and gives them 1 mana. And then the next turn maybe it becomes a 4/4 and gives them 2 mana. It's dangerous though because I would assume anybody playing this card is playing in a deck that has ways to manipulate counters.
Yes.
Yeah. So that also is sort of dangerous, but at least it's like, listen, let's not give them big advantage out of this so that they untap. It's got a bunch of counters because the more counters it has, the more they have to manipulate it with.
Right.
Like there's stuff that doubles the amount of counters on it or whatever.
And it's worth noting that this triggers in first main phase. So you do have a moment where you can like, I'm going to double the counters on this. I'm going to move all of my counters from like Forgotten Ancient. At the beginning of my upkeep, I'm going to move all my counters onto this thing. And you're like, I'll add 20 mana and cast a Hydra for like a million or whatever.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that this deck is both manipulating counters and can spend a ton of mana. So it's likely an X-Ball deck or it's a Hydra deck or it's a counters deck that has some sort of sink, which is pretty narrow. It's not going to show up a ton.
You don't think it just goes in decks that have Gruul and are +1/+1 counter themed?
Because you need the cards to be able to take advantage of that much mana. Like the upside of this is that you add like 6 mana or something like that. And if you only have a couple cards in hand, then you're just giving your opponents more mana for no reason, right?
I guess so. I just never worry about the scenario where I have too much mana and not enough cards.
Yeah,
First of all,
you
because
run enough card draw.
I build my decks that way. But also, like, that's a problem I can solve. But, like, usually you're cramped on the resource of what can I deploy, not so much cramped on the resource of I don't have stuff to deploy. So I'm happy to put a card in my deck that just says, like, hey, I may give you too much mana that you can't even spend it. Well, I kind of want that card.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll figure that out then.
Okay, no problem.
If that's what that always does, then I'm fine. I'll,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be worried about that side of it. My worry is the help to the opponents. That's
definitely help to your opponents.
This is definitely not a Josh card because I don't like cards that I don't know what they're going to do, and that may just help my opponents more than they help me. Because there's a scenario where they're like, do the thing, use the mana and use one of that mana to kill this thing so you don't get it.
You're like, no.
Yeah. So all I did was help them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a window where this could happen. I mean, it sort of makes me think of, it's not exactly like this because the timing's very different, of like a Descent into Avernus type card, which my playgroup loves. We play so much Descent into Avernus.
Because like, it's wacky, you don't know.
I was in a game with 2 of them in play. And I was like, what are we doing here? Why do 2 people have this card? And that triggers on one player's upkeep, so the person who played the Descent gets the advantage first.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the big difference, but it does feel like it's like whatever's happening, this game's going to be big and weird. And I do think that appeals to a lot of Commander players. So hopefully Cheering Crowd does some wacky stuff in your playgroup. If you're looking for like a busted card, I don't know if it's that. Yeah,
it definitely will create weird situations, but it also may create situations where your opponents use it to win, which is, that can be fine. Like, I like those kind of wacky games too sometimes. Okay.
Oh, right. This is just a little one that I wanted to mention before we move on, because it's. I think there are homes for it. It's the Daily Bugle Building. This is a land. It's colorless. It's tap to add colorless, and it's 1 tap, add 1 mana of any color. But the important text here is 1 tap, target legendary creature gains menace until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery.
Is that Spider-Man? He's a menace.
A menace. The building's saying that. The flavor here is great.
Well, yeah, I think the paper is saying that.
Oh, sure.
The paper's just produced in the building. Yeah.
This card's fun. This is an extremely cheap rate for to give your commander evasion. Like 1 and tap to give something menace in the early game is the difference between you being able to attack with your cheap commander and you not being able to attack with your cheap commander. If your commander cares about attacking and doesn't have menace naturally, this might be worth looking at. I don't think I'd play it in 3 colors or more, just because I don't think it's quite worth that.
Well, it does have that secondary ability where you can filter. It's not great to do that, but you can do it.
Okay, you use the mana from the Cheering Crowd to filter into the Daily Bugle Building. The closest comps that I brought up is like the kind of decks that would want this are the ones that are playing like Access Tunnel or maybe Rogue's Passage, more likely Access Tunnel.
Yeah.
But there's, Menace is not.
Menace is not unblockable, so it's not quite as reliable. I find it hard to think of scenarios where you really would want to do this in the early game just because 2 mana is a lot more early. So it's the kind of thing where like these lands, Rogue's Passage, and what's the one that gives fear?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The black one.
Yeah. There's some of these running around and they do work in the right decks, but you tend to activate them later as like a finisher or like, oh, I really need this trigger because these types of triggers kind of tend to get a little more powerful later in the game when you've got other things set up that are paying off of the triggers or whatever like that. And this gets a little worse later because Menace is not unblockable. So I think it's probably still good. I agree with what you said. I wouldn't want to play it if I'm doing a lot of colors, but if I have an attack trigger or an on-combat damage on my commander, or that's like a sub-theme of my deck, then this starts to look a lot better.
Yeah. If you've got a commander with Death Touch or that kind of thing, like Menace is inconvenient. And I found a lot of the time people were like, oh, well, I'm happy to chump with this, or I'll trade with like a small thing or whatever, but I'm not interested in actually trading a creature for your creature. And Menace says, you're trading a creature for my creature, basically. Yeah. So it can be just annoying enough for 2 mana that you can get your damage trigger or your attack trigger in. And maybe,
it won't do the things like sneak in for a win, though.
No.
Yeah,
this would be a value play for sure. So you're looking for an attack trigger or a damage trigger that's worth spending 2 mana on. But just a little card worth taking a look at.
There are some interesting lands in this set.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a couple of them.
Yeah, they've that was one of the things I noted was like, oh, they found some interesting design space for our lands that I hadn't really thought about before, which is cool. Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about those and a bunch of other cards coming up. But before we get to those, we're going to take a quick break and hear a message from our sponsors. We will be right back.
This message is sponsored by RAYCON.
Hey, Rachel, you ready for Commander Night?
I'm literally always ready for Commander Night.
Nice. What you gonna play?
Feldergriff.
Oh, classic Rachel deck.
With some upgrades, of course.
Oh, classic with upgrades. You know what that reminds me of?
Oh, yeah.
RAYCON's Everyday Earbuds Classic. Got there. RAYCONs are the best. They have that old school design, but they're loaded up with new features like active noise cancellation and multi-point connectivity. They're great for going to the gym or just listening to podcasts on the walk because with up to 32 hours of battery life, they'll last all day.
Plus, their quick charge function means you can get 90 minutes of listening with only 10 minutes of charging. I like the unique colors too, like cool mint.
Sounds tasty.
Jimmy, do not eat the delicious earbuds. Seriously though, RAYCONs have all the quality of the big brands, but at half the price. And the best part is they have a 30-day happiness guarantee, so if you don't love them, returns are easy.
Sounds like a sweet deal to me. Side question though, are you actually playing Feldergriff tonight? Because if so, I need to pull out some better decks.
Oh yeah, you're going down.
Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/command to get 20% off site-wide. Again, that's buyraycon.com/command.
Hello and welcome to Apogee Science. I am Kilo, your knowledge interface for lucrative opportunities and owner of Kilo's No Lies Cake Shop. Even for a supercomputer like me, starting my own business was intimidating. I needed a partner, but after many contenders failed my rigorous tests, I found the perfect e-commerce companion, Shopify. Their design studio full of ready-to-use templates let me build an effective online store, or as I call it, my web portal. Then their marketing platform helped me launch email and social media campaigns to reach new customers and dispel the hateful rumors about my cake's existence. And with Shopify's expertise in global shipping, they ensure my totally real cakes make it exactly where they need to go. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see why Shopify powers 10% of US e-commerce. So make a note, with Shopify, you too can find huge success.
Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCZ. Go to shopify.com/TCZ. Again, shopify.com/TCZ. All right, then I will tap out for Raging Swordtooth.
Raging sword tooth. More like raging tooth pain. Am I right?
Wait, do you have raging tooth pain?
Don't we all?
Jimmy, when was the last time you saw a dentist?
Oh, I guess it's been a while. Let's see, when did they get rid of mana burn?
What?
Crap! All right, that's it. I'm gonna make you an appointment on ZOCDOC.
On what now?
ZOCDOC, it's a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. From dental health to mental health to primary care, they have over 100,000 doctors across every specialty. In fact, I use ZOCDOC to find a dermatologist who really helped me with my eczema. You can filter based on insurance, location, and patient rating. And ZOCDOC is great for seeing someone fast. So remember that doctor's appointment we've all been putting off? Well, now you can get it done same day.
Yeah, same day is probably a good idea. My teeth hurt.
Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/command to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/command. ZocDoc.com/command.
One fish, two fish, red fish, clue fish.
Dr. Seuss?
No, I'm working on Morph on Fish Typal. Just want to make sure I have enough fish to actually draw some.
Oh, well, you should use ARCHIDEKT's hypergeometric calculator. See? ARCHIDEKT makes it easy to check your chances of drawing what you need, whether it's a certain creature type, mana value, or category of cards, like ramp or draw spells. I use it to check my land count. See, in this deck, you only have a 61% chance of drawing 3 lands by turn 2. Might be a little low.
Okay, I'll cut a basic or two.
Wait, you mean add?
Nope, I've got a reputation to uphold. ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/command zone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command zone.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, we're going to be at MagicCon Atlanta doing Game Nights Live. MagicCon Atlanta is September 26th.
Yep, right around the corner.
It's coming up. It's coming up. If you don't have your tickets yet, hopefully there's still tickets available. But come see us. We're doing Game Nights Live. It's going to be a big, cool show. That's on the 26th at 5 p.m. And you don't need extra tickets or anything. You can just come see the show for free as long as you can get on the floor on the 25th.
Yeah, as long as you have a badge for the event. And I just want to reiterate, at the time we're recording this, there are still some badges available, but they do tend to sell out. Please pick up your badge before you book the rest of your trip. But we will be hanging there the whole entire rest of the weekend as well. So if you can make it, come say hi, come see the show, maybe get in a game with us, etc. All right, let's get into the next. You threw the one that has the relevant information. All right, I'll get started. I'll vamp, Josh, vamp. The next card is Double Trouble. It's 4 and a red for an instant. It says double the power of each creature you control until end of turn.
Yeah. So this is from the Welcome deck, specifically the red one. Most of the cards in the Welcome decks are a little underpowered and we're not going to see much of. This one I thought was kind of cool and was not something that we'd seen a ton of. In red, it's like a 5-mana combat trick.
Interesting for a Welcome deck, I'll tell you.
Yeah, to get slammed with this in the Welcome deck.
Just out of nowhere.
It's pretty wild. It is 5 mana, so it's pretty expensive, but it can definitely end the game out of nowhere. Some of the things I was comparing it to is like Mercadia's Downfall. I play a lot of that card. That's 3 mana and buffs creatures for the number of non-basic lands your opponents control, which is usually plenty.
Usually a lot when you combine them all up.
Yeah. So it's usually 5 or so.
Oh, it's defending player. It's not opponent.
It's the defending player, yeah. And you flash it in after blocks and you can take somebody out of nowhere. So this has a similar play pattern. It's 2 more mana and it doubles the power. So it's not a guaranteed buff unless you're already attacking with like pretty big creatures.
Yeah, Dictate of the Twin Gods was the other one you kind of listed.
Yeah.
It has a similar effect.
It's like a flash damage doubler.
Yeah, although that one sticks around after you've put it down, which makes it a little bit better. Yeah, I was looking at Savage Beating and Akroma's Will just as the double strike part of those as comps. And then I looked at those cards and I was like, well, these are way better because they do other things too.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's an effect that if you want that effect, there are probably better ways to get it. But if you open Welcome decks and you're building a Commander deck, this is going to do a reasonable approximation of cards that do see play and do work in Commander. But I think it will eventually want to upgrade it to one of these other cards we just mentioned.
Yes. That is Double Trouble, and you can pick it up cheap.
All right, the next one's a bit of a doozy.
It is a doozy.
This is the type of card that I like, but no one else likes when I have it.
Must remove.
Yeah.
But the problem with removing this card.
It also tends to go in decks that I like to build but don't like to play.
Yeah.
It's Electro Assaulting Battery. It's 1 red for a 2/3 legendary creature, human villain. The design is really cool as far as top down. It's got flying, so 3 mana, 2/3 flyer. It says you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end.
Okay.
Just your red mana, but it sticks around forever as long as Electro's around. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, add a red mana to your mana pool. And then it says when Electro leaves the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, he deals X damage to target player. So the obvious comps for this, for me, I immediately thought of Bergie and Stormkiln Artist.
Yeah.
Are in similar molds.
Whenever you cast stuff, you make more mana.
Yeah.
This is like a category of cards that have been very powerful in Commander before.
I mean, honestly, Bergie and Stormkiln Artist are in the category of like, if I'm putting those into a deck, that deck's probably a 4.
Yeah. Or at least trying to be. Yeah.
Like, it probably just can't be less than that. If those cards, I'm actually putting them in. Otherwise, I'm keeping them out, so it's not a 4 because I don't want it to be that high. But like, they're kind of like game changer-esque in my mind. Not that they're good in every deck, but the decks they're good in, they're broken in.
Right. Stormy style decks just tend to be stuff that lower power tables can't really contend with. I have
and they're unfun because they tend to be like, what are you going to do the turn you play Stormkiln Artist? Oh, chain off 15, 16 spells, have a bunch of dice keeping track of various things. Everyone's watching you for 45 minutes.
Right.
Like, that's the type of thing it's going to do.
Yeah.
So Electro feels like kind of like likely to be in that mold most of the time you see it.
Definitely. It goes in this kind of category of stuff. So if you see it on the battlefield, you know exactly what's coming, and it's a lot of instants and sorceries, probably 1 mana ones, especially 1 mana ones that draw a card. But this one has an interesting wrinkle on it that sort of combines the things that we've seen before with Birgi and Urabrask and Stormkiln Artist, and combines it with like OG mono green Omnath, which like lets you store all this red mana to be a threat in the late game. So this card actually says like, hey, I'm going to be really powerful and dangerous, and if you remove me, I can blast you with a ton of damage.
Well, it gives you the outlet because Birgi lets you keep the mana for a limited time, not as long as Electro. But yeah, Electro has this ability that's like, oh, and it can't really go bad for you because however many turns you have this out for, which won't be that long. That's the reality of this. But let's say in the weird world where you're like, I slowly accumulate 3 or 4 mana here and there over the course of a couple of turns. Again, you won't do that, or you won't see that. People are going to just get 30 mana with this in the same turn they play it or whatever. But if that happened and then somebody's like, I go to kill it before it goes to your next turn, and you're just, but I had 9 red mana in my mana pool I was planning to use. You just go, cool, feed it into Electro's ability, deal 9 to you. I mean, at least you'll get something.
Definitely a good card. Definitely one we're going to see a lot. A lot of these, the ones that we've talked about before, are sort of combined with cheap spells. So you use the mana that you've made to cast it. You use the mana that you've made to cast another one. But this one actually pairs really well with big rituals as well. So if you're the kind of deck that like wants to cast a Mana Geyser or a Braid of Fire.
Ooh, Braid of Fire is really good with Electro.
It gives you this outlet to keep it. Where Braid of Fire, you lose that red mana in your upkeep. If you have Electro in play, you're like, actually, I get to keep it for evil deeds later in the turn.
Yeah, if you never played with Braid of Fire, it's super fun. It's from the old days of mana burn. So it was supposed to be a downside that it gives you this mana during your upkeep, that if you don't have instants, you can't spend it. And that mana would eventually spill over and just start killing you because you can't spend it all. These days, we don't have mana burn, so there's not much of a downside, but also not much of an upside because you're like, well, I can't spend the mana. And Electro says, I'll hold it for you.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Just let me know when you need it.
I got you. So yeah, this card's really sweet. I think we're going to see a lot of it in the same slots that we see the other ones.
Yeah, for sure.
We've also seen this next card's effect before.
Oh, it's very powerful.
This is Gwenom, Remorseless. 3 black for a symbiote spider hero. She's a 4/4 with Death Touch and Lifelink. And whenever Gwenom attacks until the end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. Where have I heard that before?
You wrote down Magus of the Citadel.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great. That's great. This is Bolas' Citadel on a stick.
Yeah.
Has a hoop you have to jump through.
Attack.
Yeah.
But it is 1 mana cheaper and 1 black pip cheaper to cast. So it's a little easier to get on the battlefield. Plus, you can reanimate it with creature reanimate effects. You
give it
can
haste.
Give it haste. You can give it shroud. There's a lot of upsides to it being a creature. There's also a lot of downsides to it being a creature.
Easier to remove and interact with for sure. It does have to attack also. So yeah, but Bolas' Citadel is a game changer, and for good reason. I mean, it's one of those cards where they play it. Sometimes you just go, are we dead?
Yeah.
If they just have a Sensei's Divining Top out, you probably are dead.
Even if they cast like
sometimes
4
not.
or 5 spells,
yeah, sometimes
you're
they
like,
just
oh,
look.
we're dead.
They
yeah.
just go, look, yeah, I'll pay 4. Yeah, I'll pay 5. Yeah, I'll pay 6. And you're just like, oh.
I think,
that's too
now
much
we're just
stuff.
so much far behind.
Yeah.
So
by the way,
behind.
if we kill that stuff, you just do that with the Citadel again. And that's like, if somebody does that and then goes past, I go, wow, fair Citadel.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would say if they did what I just described. Because the unfair Citadel is instant win.
0, 0, 0, 1, 3, 1, shuffle, 2, 4. Like,
Yeah, you're just like, oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sack this, do that. Shuffle again.
Right.
Drain you got. You're just like, we're just dead, right? Yeah.
The interesting thing here is like when Bolas' Citadel comes down, you were often like, oh, we may be dead this turn.
Yeah.
And when Gwenom comes down, you're like, okay, we're probably dead next turn.
Yeah, true. Which is better.
Unless there's like a pair of shoes, there's Swiftfoot Boots or Lightning Greaves, something to, or if it has haste, there's an Anger in the graveyard. Then obviously this is a more immediate threat. But it's more likely that you have disruption that can actually stop this from happening. They do have to play it, equip it, get it to combat, all of those things for it to work. So at the end of the day, this is Bolas' Citadel. It's not a game changer because of the limitations you have to put on it, but it's still going to have the same effect as Bolas' Citadel.
Well, and I think people will play it, and there's going to be that classic, no, it's not that. My deck's not that powerful. It's not going to do the thing. And it's like, yeah, exactly. The problem is, I'll tell you what, I'll kill it, and then just let me look at the top 10 cards of your deck, and I'll verify whether that was true or not.
Yeah, that's fine. Nobody believes you, and nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this one can go in the command zone. Wing! Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah, there's that, actually, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
With, all your colorless haste enablers. It's pretty good. Okay. The next one is Heroes Hangout. This is my kind of card.
I love this card.
Yeah, it's 1 red mana for a sorcery. There's 2 mono red cards I really like in this set, which is weird. Okay, sorry. 1 mana, 1 red for a sorcery. Choose one. Either Date Night, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them until the end of your next turn, and you may play that card. And then it has Patrol Knight. 1 or 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn.
The date night went wrong.
Yeah.
They exiled 2 cards, only 1 left.
Yeah, what's the flavor of
I
that?
don't know. It's really weird flavor.
It's like who's playing for dinner?
But this is a very cool card. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to mention this one. It's a 1 mana. It's an uncommon, and it's just a 1 mana red cantrip.
It's in the vein of Ponder-ish, right?
Yeah, you only see 2 cards. You only get the one of the 2. There's no world where you can like save the other one.
Right. It is the end of your next turn, which is nice.
A huge amount of time with it.
Yep. So the danger's a lot lower if you have to play it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, this kind of thing is really good in actually the deck we were talking about before with BRG and Stormkill Nerdist and the Cast from Exile decks that we were talking about before. All of those are just looking for cast triggers that give you the opportunity to get another cast trigger. And this says like, oh, I don't want that land. I'll take this cantrip and I'll cast that one.
Yep.
So it's just going to feel really good. It should go in a lot of decks.
It'll smooth out your game a little bit too. You fit it in on like turn 2 or 3. If you need more lands, if you're Jimmy and you're land light, this helps you find it. If you don't, you filter past it. Yeah. And again, you get all those synergies kicking in eventually with your other, whether it's Cast from Exile or whatever. Yeah. I love cards like this. You just feel so safe when you have them. You can't have... Actually, these days, some decks just have all this, right? And a couple of payoffs.
Yeah. I mean, my Cast from Exile deck will slam this card because you're just like, I don't know.
One of the best cards you could ever have.
All I want is like 4,000 Wren's Resolves, which is the 2 mana Exile 2. And this is 1 mana, pick 1. And I was looking at it, I was like, okay, have they printed this before? And there's a lot of like 1 mana target creature gains haste, draw a card type of things.
Not the exact same, but yeah.
But like, it's not quite that. There is Experiment Synthesizer, which is an artifact. So it's red, enters, impulse draws a card, and then if you sacrifice it, you impulse draw another card. Yep. And I play this in my Dragon's Approach deck, and it's great. And then there's Spark of Creativity. It exiles the top card of your library and either burns a creature equal to that mana value, or you just get to play it. So if it's a land, you get to play it. And it does a similar thing, gives you that Cast from Exile trigger. But Heroes Hangout is just better than both of those, probably, because you get the choice between the 2
You get the choice between
cards.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is until the end of your next turn, which some of those are until end of turn. And the next turn is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't play it on 1 if it's not until the end of your next turn. In this case, you probably still wouldn't want to, but you could if you had to, thinking like, I'm going to find a land that I'm going to play next turn or something like that.
Right. Yeah. This card's sweet. I need to pick up a couple copies right away. The second mode is probably irrelevant, but
if it was an instant, that might be more relevant. The problem is giving +1/+0 on first strike before combat. You can't get anyone.
Right.
So
opponents are like, no blocks.
Yeah, I'll just take the extra 1 then. Yeah.
You're like, it's extra 2, actually.
If you have 2 creatures. Okay.
All right, let's move on. This card's cool too.
Yeah, this one I really like a lot. It is Hide on the Ceiling. It's blue and X for an instant. Exile X target artifacts and or creatures. Return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
All right.
So Mass Blink, an X Blink spell. There's been a few of these, but they're not as many as you'd think.
And they're not in blue usually. Like this is blue Mass Blink. That's just
white
blue.
often does like Eerie Interlude type stuff.
So white's very good at it, but I don't like. There's a lot of like blue can blink 2 things, like
Ghostly
displaces, ghostly flicker, that kind of thing. But being able to blink multiple things, including artifacts.
Yep.
Is really, really powerful. Like the closest comp to this card that I found was like March of Swirling Mists, which can protect your board like this one can, and it can like be used aggressively to phase out your opponent's things. And Hide on the Ceiling does that same sort of effect. It can protect your board from a board wipe and exile your opponent's attackers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it has the added upside of you get to reuse ETBs and LTBs.
Yeah, because Swirling Mist is phase out.
Right.
Whereas this is exile and come back. Slight downside when doing opponent's things, but major upside when doing your own things. Yeah. I love Disorder in the Court, and I played in a few different decks.
That's great.
Which is very similar, I'd say, to Hide on the Ceiling. You do get clues, but that's usually not why you play it. The clues are incidental. You're doing it for the exiling of this stuff. Yeah, and Hide on the Ceiling has a little bit of upside even over Disorder of the Court in that regard because of the artifacts that it can hit. Blinking artifacts is very powerful because let's imagine you have a Gilded Lotus or something that taps for more than 1 mana. You're up mana because they exile, they come back, and they're untapped when they come back. It's on your end step, so you have to have instants and stuff in your deck, but that means you can say X is equal to 5 or 6, and you end up at the same amount of mana that you cast this thing out if you have a few big rocks or whatever. And then the fact that it can target your opponent's stuff is actually really, really big. And I use Disorder in the Court a lot or defensively in that way, where I've just got it. It's kind of going to be a fog. It's just going to be a fog that also will blink a couple of my things for a value. So it's like, yep, I will blank your attack, and then my Mole Drifter and something else will also come back in. So I'll just draw 2 or 3 more cards. And it's very powerful in that scenario because fogs are just already good in Commander, and you probably don't play enough of them. And this is just like, hey, it is a backup removal spell. It also can just stop a combo sometimes because it is return at end step.
Yeah.
So yeah, this card's like very good, and it's cheaper than Disorder in the Court. It's in only blue. Like as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm playing this card. This is going to be sweet. It's just, it's one of those things. I like to have a few cards in my deck that are just tricky, just like do weird stuff. This fits that category where your opponent's just not, and people always say this about me. It's like, I don't know what Josh has, but he will have something.
It's something, I don't know how he's going to mess it up.
Yeah, I can't predict exactly what that effect will be because he'll play some sort of weird stops a triggered ability or whatever. He'll have a way to get around it. So I need 2 or 3 different ways to maybe blunt it. And Jimmy's really good at this now where he's like, all right, I'm not going to try and make a move until I have 2 or 3 different ways to interact with whatever Josh is going to interact with. But this is one of those things. I don't know. I'm going on and on. I like the card.
Yeah, I mean, this is just hugely impactful. And I agree. It's a lot of the reasons that I like March's Whirling Mist is it's just like, I don't know, I'll figure out why it's good in the moment. But sometimes it's a fog, sometimes it protects your board, sometimes it removes a creature,
it's like we talk about in the deck building template about overlap, right?
Yes.
So if you can use offensively and defensively, there's an overlap there, right? It's a protection piece, but it's also a removal piece kind of. And the fact that it's not like the perfect protection or the perfect removal is that downside is removed by the fact that it can do both things and not just one of them.
Right. For example, in the template, I would call this targeted disruption, mass disruption, and protection. Yeah.
Yeah, so then now you've got one card that's doing 3 of those things, and that's how we can say, like, oh, you need 10 of this category and 20 in this, and you add it up, and you're like, that's 120 cards, you guys.
You're like, I know.
These 40 cards are doing 2 or 3 of the things. Yeah.
Right. This is and blink.
Yeah.
If you're in a blink specific deck, of course. Yeah, really cool card. Gonna play a lot of it for sure.
It will be annoying when your opponents do it. It'll be one of those ones where you're like, ugh.
You can get blown out by this.
Big time.
The next card we're going to talk about is red. It is Maximum Carnage. 4 and red for a saga. The first chapter says, until your next turn, each creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. Chapter 2 is add red, red, red. Chapter 3 is this saga deals 5 damage to each opponent. Okay. So this first chapter is essentially goad all the creatures.
Disrupt Decorum.
But it's closer to Cardor, which has a special thing that says not just the creatures now, whatever creatures you will have that you can attack with, those 2.
Yeah, so if you get a creature out with haste, it's not like Disrupt Decorum didn't see it. This is like, no, I see that. That still can attack me.
Goad specifically says that creature, no. And Maximum Carnage says all the creatures until next time, not those.
Yeah.
And there's a couple upsides for this being on a saga.
A lot of upsides, I'd say, yeah.
It's a permanent, which just is easier to recur. It's easier to bounce. You can remove counters from it to keep recurring the first chapter, which is deeply annoying, by the way.
It's not that crazy that like, oh, I'm going to say goad, but it's not exactly good.
Yeah.
The whole table every turn for the rest of the game until you guys deal with this thing.
And deal with this,
That'll just be a permanent effect that I have the ability to just keep it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you destroy this or whatever's, removing the counter or whatever.
Yeah. It's like goad, add 3.
If you played against a Cardor deck, it's just like...
It's so exhausting.
And they always say, well, my Cardor deck never wins. Yeah, because you lose when it gets down to 2 players, but you always get down to 2 players.
Go decks now, I draw a lot of aggro for me in the early game because they're control decks.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players will be like, it's a Go deck. You're like, it's a control deck. Yeah. It's just not in blue.
It's just like when people, I built a chaos deck. No, it's a control deck.
It's a control deck.
It stops us from doing anything.
It's a stacks deck, actually. But that's okay. I appreciate you giving me the heads up. So this is a very, very controlling card that can get opponents' life totals down really low and then kill them at 5 life if like all the creatures are gone or something like that. So
you and I are both big fans of Disrupt Decorum.
Yeah.
And the thing I thought about this is like, it's only 1 red pip, so a little easier to cast. It is 1 more mana, but you get a lot more for that extra mana. Because even if you don't do any tricky stuff, you get 3 mana rebate later, and then you just get that 3rd chapter, which is not that big a deal, but it's just like gravy.
Yeah.
Because once you get that 2nd chapter, you're like, I only paid 2 mana for my Disrupt Decorum. Man, I feel pretty good about that exchange just right there.
Yeah.
That's not even like, hey, I can recur this or do anything special. Like, I just put Disrupt Decorum in decks with not really much synergy. It's not like I'm like, oh, it only goes in spell decks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I consider it mass disruption, and cards like this are part of the reason why I wanted to switch from calling them board wipes to calling them mass disruption, because they do a similar thing, which is this board right now, this isn't my problem.
Yeah.
I would consider it mass disruption. It doesn't replace a board wipe, but it has a similar effect in the deck, which is why the template says that you should be running like 6-ish mass disruption spells. So yeah,
do you think
Carnage
you
Suite,
run this over Disrupt Decorum?
in addition.
You run both? I think most of my decks are probably capped on that. Like, it's not like I'm looking to add more of that effect, but I think I will replace Disrupt Decorum in at least a couple of them. Certainly,
Displace some of them.
I bet I have 4 or 5 decks with Disrupt Decorum, and I bet like 2 or 3 will switch to this.
Yeah. My red, like, board wipe suite is often like a Vandal Blast, a Disrupt Decorum, a Blasphemous Act, and it'll probably add this as well. Okay. Moving on to Multiversal Passage.
Speaking of interesting lands, although this is not one of the ones I was referring to, this is a little more straightforward. So the Multiversal Passage is a land. It says, as this land enters, choose a basic land type. Then you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. This land is the chosen type. What weird templating and ordering of how we're going to...
It's a shock basic.
Yeah. But it's any basic.
Yep. The closest comparison is definitely Prismatic Vista, a fetch land that goes to find 1 basic and it stays that color forever. It's basically like a Prismatic Vista that doesn't shuffle and
costs
sometimes
1 more life.
Yeah, to cost 1 more life.
But Prismatic Vista doesn't have the mode of like, I can choose to not pay the life and have the thing enter tapped, which Multiversal Passage, if it's like, oh, this is 1 mana I cannot spend, just have it enter tapped. That happens with Shocklands all the time.
Yeah, play it on early.
That's a little give and take, and I would say sometimes it's going to net you a life and sometimes it's going to cost you a life, so it's probably a wash. I guess Prismatic Vista, to be fair, the other part you would say about it, when there's a big one, is for landfall decks and stuff, it is a fetch land that is 2 landfall triggers, puts itself in the graveyard, can be recurred. So Multiversal Passage, I don't want to say it's as good as Prismatic Vista.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But if you're not worried about that recursion part or the landfall part, it's probably basically as good in that deck.
This is sort of similar to the Soulstone for me, where it's like, yeah, it could probably go in any deck. It could probably, I don't know if I'd do it in like a 5-color deck because it is limited to 1 color. But if it's 3 and under, I think it could go in any of those decks. It's just sort of, do you have one and is it worth the cost of what it's going to cost? Because this is going to be in standard. Alongside Starting Town, which is exceptionally expensive right now. Yeah. So it is possible that Multiversal Passage is just sort of out of the budget range for most of us. And not really worth it to buy. Like, I'd rather just get a check land or something for $1.
Yeah, so you got to wait, 3 years until it's out of standard and then the price will go down?
Yeah.
Because once it's out of standard, it's not going to be, like, it's not good enough to really matter much in other formats.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Moving right along to one of the cool lands that we were talking about.
Okay, we finally got there.
This is it.
Or there's 2 of them.
Prepare yourself for Oscorp Industries. This is a land. This land enters tapped. When this land enters from a graveyard, you lose 2 life. Tap, add blue, black, or red. So it's a Grixis card. And it has Mayhem. A land with Mayhem?
Spicy. So if you discarded it this turn, you can play it.
Yeah.
But you'll lose the 2 life because that's the if it entered from a graveyard thing.
Right.
And also if you just discarded it and played it off a Crucible, you'd lose the 2 life.
Right. So we've alluded to this kind of thing. Oh, it's worth mentioning. That's your land drop. It's not an additional. You can't play that.
It doesn't give you an extra land drop for the turn. Yeah.
No, it's just your land. So the first thing I thought of was like Thrill of Possibilities, and it's just you discard this to draw 2 cards, play this from your graveyard. Now your Thrill of Possibility is not selection; it is card advantage.
This is exactly what I was talking about with the clone, right? Which is like you're looking for these things to turn your looters or rummagers into card advantage and not card selection.
Right.
And it's in the colors that are the best at doing that. Blue and red are definitely the best at doing that. So it's very good for that.
It is. It's going to go along with all of your 2-mana looters that we were talking about before. It's basically like if Containment Construct, which goes in those decks, was attached to the actual
individual card,
which is awesome. Yeah. That's like a very powerful ability.
I would think of this as like, is it worth it to you for no mana cost, just pay 2 life, draw a card? Mm-hmm. And we absolutely would do that.
That's busted.
That's like amazing. Yeah. And that's kind of what this is in those scenarios. And then that's sort of the good side. And the bad side is it's a crumbling necropolis, which is totally fine. And I definitely play. day
Yeah.
in many decks to this day. Yeah.
So, yes, awesome. If you're playing Grixis and you have any amount of rummaging spells.
Yeah. How many do you think you need? I don't think it's a lot.
It's not tons.
Because again, if it's just a Crumbling Necropolis, it's mostly fine. I think, yeah. What do you think the number is of cards that allow you to discard a card? Obviously, if it's on your commander, done.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, maybe 10, which is like pretty low when it comes to like synergy pieces like this. Because I play Crumbling Necropolis in most of my Grixis decks anyway. So having any amount of upside from there is good. And honestly, if I had one, I'd probably put it in there anyway.
Yeah, I think I would go even lower, so like 6 or 7. I think I'd be okay with 6 or 7 cards. And it would be really weird to have a Grixis deck that has even 6 or 7. That'd be very low for me.
I agree, yeah.
Just cards that, because you got to think Windfall and stuff like that count.
The really cool design on this card.
Malcolms and stuff like that. Like there's so many now.
And honestly, for the amount of text that's on it and for how neat it is, it's a fairly simple card, which I really like and appreciate. They're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, I like this design.
All right, moving on.
Okay, the next one is Parker Luck.
Yeah, poor Peter.
2 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, 2 target players each reveal the top card of their library. They each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. Then they each put the card that they revealed into their hand.
Okay.
So a little bit Keen Duelist, Keen Duelist is based on Dark Confidant.
Right.
But some interesting wrinkles.
Some interesting tweaks, yes. It happens on end step.
Yep.
Well, it's 1 more mana. It's not a creature. It happens on end step. And you don't have to pick yourself.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
You two fight.
If it starts getting into like single digit life totals, I could see that being like fairly significant.
Yeah.
Like this has a chance to knock one of you out or both.
Yeah, I mean, it is also nice to just be like, okay, I can't take any more damage.
That's actually a really good point.
And now we're in the late game. I'm too hurty. At least I have one way to get off of this. You mentioned that this is not a creature, so it is hard to get rid of. Well, like if you have a Keen Duelist in the late game, you're like, okay, block, die, get rid of my Keen Duelist.
I can sack it. I'm in black. I can usually. This is harder.
It is more difficult to get off the battlefield. So having that out to be like, actually, you two are going to take some damage, does make this card a lot more flexible.
That still could be a bad scenario though, because you're giving 2 of your opponent's cards.
Yeah, which I don't love. So that does have to be like a pretty dire situation or a high upside move for you. But Keen Duelist is one that I really like.
Yeah, I'm not a Keen Duelist player myself, but people play it a lot in general. I've definitely seen it on the battlefield a lot, and this is an interesting version of it. I wonder if it'll shake out and it'll be as popular.
Probably not. It's 1 more mana is probably the biggest difference, but it does trigger technically on the same turn. Like because it's on end step and
so you get the same amount of cards at the end of turn 3 as Keen Duelist.
Doesn't even work for Rakdos. Shoot, because it's on end step. Oh
doesn't
no!
Work for Rakdos. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, interesting. Keen Duelist being a creature is one of the weird cases where I do think it's kind of better, not just because it's easier to get rid of when you want to, but also like it kind of gets in there. And at 2 mana, that can kind of matter, especially for how Black likes to play games. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, we shall see where Parker's Luck shows up.
Okay.
The next one is also Parker's.
Yep.
It's his camera. It's Peter Parker's camera. 1 mana for an artifact. This artifact enters with 3 film counters on it. 2 tap, remove a film counter from this artifact. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy.
Question, Rachel.
Yeah.
What's film?
Ew.
This camera is an antique. This is old school.
This is old. This really dates Peter. Miles is like,
wait,
you don't take pictures on your phone?
Yeah, you run out of pictures that you can take?
I have pictures from 7 years ago on my phone. Yeah.
This is interesting because they have dialed the cost back on the... So the comparables are like Strionic Resonator, Lithoform Engine, Tawnos Urza's Apprentice, the Peregrine Dynamo.
Yeah. Tawnos and Peregrine Dynamo are like restricted by type, but the 2 open-ended ones are like Strionic Resonator and Lithoform Engine.
These are abilities we've seen before, which is like, hey, we can copy activated and or triggered abilities. Some are one, some are the other. Some are like, oh yeah, it's this much for this one and that much for this one. But whatever, you've been able to do this.
Yeah.
I think even like GoGo and some other things recently have done it.
3.
Yeah. But they throttled the price point of it as far as mana costs by saying we're going to limit the amount of times you can do it.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that is I don't know how much of a restriction that is. Like, if I've activated this 3 times, I'm good.
Yeah, I can't remember a game where I activated Strionic Resonator 4 times.
Yeah.
It just, you don't do that. Like, yeah, usually 1 or 2 is it. Like, you either won or you didn't, but like, you didn't have that out with some, like, it was good enough to do, which means it was probably pretty good.
Yeah. That's how I felt about this one. And like, for me, Lithoform Engine is unplayably expensive. 4 mana to get into play, 2 mana to copy is just, I put it in decks and they've all come out.
Yep.
Strionic Resonator is still in that world.
Still awkward often.
A little awkward. It's only triggered abilities, so you can't do the activated abilities thing. But Peter Parker's camera is flexible and efficient and easy to search for because it's a 1 mana permanent.
I didn't think about that.
So you can find it with Urza's Saga, you can find it with Bright Glass Gear Hulk, like those kind of 1 mana.
How is Peter Parker's camera not legendary?
I don't know. It does seem weird.
Does he have unlimited amount of those cameras? I figured there would only be the one that's his.
That's why you have the film, so you don't have to replace the camera, Peter.
I didn't think of the searching thing. There's a lot of search for 1 mana artifacts or even low CMC stuff that it falls into. Yeah. I mean, I love the get it out there for 1 mana. That's just, that feels really good. And then it's Strionic Resonator that can also do activated abilities, and you could only do it 3 times, which you would never do it 3 times. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Also, what is Peter doing with only 3 shots left in his camera? We could find Spider-Man today.
Yeah. Well, we know Peter famously doesn't have a lot of money for things like film.
That's true. I think this card's great. I think it is easily better than all of the options that we have in this slot.
Honestly, I started taking Strionic out too because I just had been in too many games where like I just couldn't get it out there and use it. And the 2 cost on addition to whatever you're triggering has been hard, but also just deploying it. Yeah. So
Turn 2, play Arcane Signet, play this thing.
Yeah, I love to have the chance to get that effect back on the table in a way that maybe I can use it again.
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right, on to another silly Billy. It's Pumpkin Bombs.
We've been talking about rummaging and looting a lot this episode, and this is going to be in that mold. Pumpkin Bombs is 1 and a red for an artifact. You tap it and discard 2 cards, then draw 3 cards. Then put a fuse counter on this artifact. It deals damage equal to the number of fuse counters on it to target opponent, and they gain control of this artifact. So it's a little bit humble defector in that you're tapping it to get card advantage and then passing it to an opponent who then will be in that same situation. And then it adds this damage component. And also it's not just straight draw cards, it is draw 3, discard 2.
The thing that was really weird about this to me is you can do this at instant speed.
Yeah.
Humble Defector says you have to do it on your turn.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Even like Cathartic Reunion is only sorcery speed, so you could play this on turn 2. Well, and then on end step, you discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards, and then pass it to an opponent who's already had their turn.
Interesting.
So it's like it is much slower and is easier to take advantage of it first and make sure that you're benefiting a lot from it when you do it. So that's just sort of a strange wrinkle. It may just happen less than a Humble Defector because you don't have to make the choice to use it on your turn.
Interesting. So you're like, okay, I'll wait. Well, no, it'll just happen on end steps.
On end steps. But then it's like, it only moves like once a turn rotation and then it can, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you do it on your turn, you play it. And then on their turn, on the end step, you activate it, give it away. Then
that's true
it's not until their next turn, and then they don't have to do it until the next end step. Yeah. So it moves very slowly. So I don't think the fuse counters matter as
much. Yeah, for sure, because it's hard to imagine them getting up to like 5 or 6 unless you're in a proliferate deck. Which this could go in that kind of deck, but I don't think it needs to.
Right.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. That's interesting. I mean, the thing about Humble Defector and also Pumpkin Bombs is you can affect this by the deal that you make for who you give it to. Right. So you could always say like, hey, I'll give it to you, but I want you to use it on your turn and give it back to me. And if you're not willing to accept that deal, okay, fine.
I will keep moving.
Go down the line until somebody will. And usually somebody will take that deal because it's not that big a cost to them. It's not like this has another usage. So you usually will say things like, you don't sack it and you'll activate it on your turn and give it right back to me.
Right. The other thing that's nice about this is way harder to sack.
Yeah.
Humble Defector, you're like, great, clamp it, draw 2 cards, gone. Like, sacrificing artifacts is not a thing that most decks can do.
Yeah.
And you can use it the turn it comes into play.
Yep.
So Humble Defector, you have to play it, you have to wait a turn rotation to activate it. But this one is play it, activate on end step, then you get rid of it or activate whenever. You can do it right now, so you hit that land drop.
Well, yeah, and the other thing I like about it is it's a lot easier for you to have a deck that's taking advantage of it more than whoever you're giving it to. So drawing 2 cards is pretty much equivalent almost in any deck you're in. Of course, there are Nekusar type decks and stuff that say, hey, if I draw cards, do a thing, draw my second card. So it's definitely not. But the fact that like you could care about your graveyard more or be a discard focused deck or, have Madness and Mayhem cards and then give it to a deck that doesn't have those things and is just getting good card selection out of it means that like, hey, we're not getting equivalent here. I made a deal with you and you were trading it, but you're getting 30% of what I'm getting or 70% of what I'm getting or whatever it is, which I like that as well. Just like I can eke out a little advantage. It's just not exactly equivalent.
Yeah. It's a very interesting variant on Humble Defector. I like that it's 2 mana. I think it's much better.
I think it's way better than Humble Defector. Yeah. And I think, there are the scenarios where if you bounce back and forth between a person or two, suddenly between you and me, we might have the ability to deal 9 damage to somebody. So like they get to be a problem. It's like, cool, I'll activate this, do 4 to them, give it to you. Let's make the deal. You activate it and kill them with the remaining damage.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So you can actually play like a hot potato game with it. If you can pass it, if you team up against one player, probably.
Yeah.
Neat. Okay, let's move on to the best fight spell they've ever printed.
This
maybe
spell is. I had to read this like 3 times. I was like, wait, 1 mana?
It's called Rhino's Rampage, and it's a hybrid Gruul, but it's only 1 mana. So it's a sorcery. It says target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It fights target creature an opponent controls. When excess damage is dealt to the creature an opponent controls this way, destroy up to 1 target non-creature artifact with mana value 3 or less. That doesn't have to be their artifact either. So as long as you have like a 4/4 and they have a professional Facebreaker, you can like fight the Facebreaker and kill a Soul Ring. That's gross.
1 mana killed 2 things. I can't think of another 1 mana removal spell that is a 2-for-1. Now this requires setup. You do have to have
a 4/4 or something.
Yeah, I think you need to play it in a deck that just generally has large creatures, not like 9/9s and stuff. Just like you said. I will regularly have something around the size of a 4/4 out. My commander's that big and, whatever else it is. But like, as long as you meet that criteria, it's pretty good. Like this is so efficient.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I've been playing more and more removal spells that can take out like Beast Whisperers and that kind of thing, like Lightning Bolts and Abrades. And this thing just does that and kills another thing. You have to be in Gruul. You have to have big creatures. If you're in Gruul, you probably have big creatures.
If you're just in, exactly. You have to be in Gruul, so you definitely will have big creatures.
You probably do. That's what Gruul do. So yeah, obviously you can get blown out if they remove the thing that you're fighting with.
Yeah, it's not the same as Swords to Plowshares or a straight removal spell. There are dangers.
Right. It's a high risk, high reward type of card, which is cool. You're like, I'm risking 2 spells to take care of 2 spells, which makes it feel like a little bit more better of a risk, I think. They've been pushing up the power on fight spells a little bit, like trying to find different ways to alleviate some of that risk.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is exceptionally efficient and has a very high reward.
I don't feel like it'll be too hard to find a spot where you're pretty safe to do this, where like nobody's got open mana or the person that does is not one of the people you're going after and you're like, hey, you don't want to stop this. I'm killing 2 things from somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to target. It fights when an exos destroy up to 1 target non-creature. Do you have to name both targets when this goes on the stack? You must be able to. It fights when excess damage is dealt to a creature an opponent controls this way, destroys. So that's a delayed trigger.
Right? It's a when, so it would have to happen, and then you go, cool, that happens.
So you're like, I target my creature, your creature, fight happens, when it happens, then you pick a thing.
I think so.
Interesting. Okay.
Because they could pump their creature or something to...
Right, yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, this card's really good. I think if you're in that kind of deck, it is worth a shot. I cannot wait to be wrecked by this card.
Well, I like what you said. Like, the format more and more, there's these small creatures that just matter. So there's a lot of stuff with 2 toughness just like that you really want to kill. There's fairy masterminds and all this crap that's just like, it feels bad to just like swords that stuff though, right? Because it's just like 1-for-1ing. But if it's like, oh, no, I'll kill this and that soul ring over there, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I want to do that. 1 mana?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I like this one a lot.
Yeah, this is also a very me card. And I was like, what's like this card? And then I named the card that it's like, and I was like, I guess I like this card then.
Yeah.
It's School Daze. Who'd have thought Josh likes School Daze? 3 blue for an instant. It says choose one, either do homework, which is draw 3 cards. I would not
love
equate
doing
that to homework.
homework.
Yeah, that's
Love
weird. Or fight crime, which is counter target spell, draw a card. So 5 mana, you get to either draw 3 cards or counter a spell and draw 1 card. The comparable that I immediately came up with was Mystic Confluence.
It is exactly the comparable that I came up with.
It's one of my favorite cards of all time.
I showed it to Sebastian and I was like, how far from Mystic Confluence is this? And he's like, a little, not that far though.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard counter that still gives you a card is like pretty good. The thing I wanted to talk about with this card is a lot of what we talk about with flash speed stuff is you're holding up disruption, and if you don't have disruption, you're holding up card draw or some way to take advantage.
Yep.
And this is one card that says, I'm holding up this card.
I'm the whole thing.
I'm what you need.
The whole thing. I don't need other cards in my hand to choose. It's just like, oh, nothing happened that I want to counter. This same card that was stopping whatever I was scared of is now just drawing me the 3 cards. Yeah, that's why Mystic Confluence is one of my favorite cards of all time, because it is just so versatile. I will say it's quite a bit worse because you often bounce 3 things with Mystic Confluence, but it's doing a close enough impression that it's like...
I'm going to look at it.
Sublime Epiphany and Mystic Confluence, like I have to talk myself out of putting those in blue decks. I love both those cards, and this is like in that mold. So I'm just like, well, I'd have to talk myself out of using it.
I just talked about how everybody should pick up a Mystic Confluence in episode 689. It was 10 cards for $10, and I was like, Mystic Confluence is like 60 cents, and I can't believe more people don't play it.
It turns the tables in so many ways where it's like you can go from like I can't win to I can't lose with that card very often.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, in this scenario, bouncing 3 creatures wins me the game. In this scenario, countering that spell and bouncing that creature and drawing a card wins me the game. Like,
And School Daze is close. It's not quite like counter bounce.
It doesn't have removal on it,
like
which
that's definitely a downside, but it is enough that I wanted to talk about it and definitely be like, try this and see what you think.
People play the cycling one that draws 3 cards, right? So
Lorien Revealed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is in that mold as well, which is the same philosophy of like, if I don't do A, I can do B, and it's both A and B are on this card.
All right.
Ooh, this next card.
Yeah, you're excited about this one. You want to read it?
I really like this one. And of course, it's not going to surprise people very much because it's like, Josh, if you can't find a 2-mana looter that you like from a set in blue, then find one in red. It's Shadow of the Goblin, 1 in a red for an enchantment. It has Unreliable Visions, which is at the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. I might already be in.
Yeah.
Like just a 2-mana enchantment that just does that every turn. It's not May, you have to do it, but still. But it also has Undying Vengeance. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Yeah, so the joke here is it's a Mayhem card, right? You discard a Mayhem card, you draw a card, you cast a Mayhem card, you ping them.
Sounds awesome.
And that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a great play pattern. It's also worth noting that this is after your draw phase. So you draw a card, and then you get to make a decision, and then you...
Way better, because if you're like, oh, I didn't want to land, I have too many, I can discard that. Oh, I did want to land, I'll discard it, and I didn't draw one, now I can discard a non-land. Yeah.
Right. My first thing that I thought of was, this is Anvil of Bogarden, which is a reserved list card that's colorless, and I've played plenty of.
It's so good, yeah.
And it's better than that because it gives you the rummaging and gives you the payoff in certain decks. It's also worth noting that it's like whenever you play a spell from anywhere other than your hand, red's great at that. This also includes Flashback and Mayhem and Cascade and Cast from Exile and your Command Zone, and like this, you'll trigger this a couple times.
This is going to deal some damage even if your deck's not built around it. Never mind if you are a Cast from Exile deck and all of a sudden this becomes like, that's the main reason you're playing it, and the rummaging part is gravy. So, and if rummaging is gravy, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yes.
I mean, I love looters in general, and so this is not that different than like a merfolk looter. I will say, I acknowledge like rummaging is worse than looting because you don't get to see what you drew before you choose what to discard. But it's not that different. And then, the fact that like if you're playing around with your graveyard at all, it's just good to put stuff in there that you like choosing what goes in the graveyard. I think this is probably the best home for it is Landfall though.
Sure. Okay.
Because Landfall is often like churning through its yard and playing like a fetch land out a couple of times with multiple land drops with a Crucible type effect. Now, it doesn't give you the play part of it.
No, whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than if you play lands from the graveyard,
to play it, but something else is allowing you, Lord Windgrace or whatever. Now all of a sudden, that's where I can sort of envision like, oh, I played the same land 4 times out of my graveyard this turn, and that damage, and I got the land in there from the ability on this thing. Like,
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It feels really good. I mean, obviously, like flashback, and there's a whole bunch of things, madness and stuff that's going to work with it. But I think probably Cast from Exile is probably the next one where this is at home. But I do think like you can consider this in a lot of just red decks for the first ability.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't consider it in like my deserts deck, but playing this on 2, discarding a desert, draw a card, play your commander, play a desert from the graveyard. That's really you ping for
1 and
make
just
2 bodies. That's really powerful.
And just smooth out your entire game from there because of the rummaging, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it doesn't need a further reason to exist past that. Like you've already done that thing, got you going, and now it's just like, and now what it will mostly do is just allow me to get rid of cards I don't want and hopefully draw better cards.
Yeah, this card's great. So definitely keep an eye out for it. Also, these cards don't tend to get super expensive. So I'm hoping that this one's feasible for you to pick up a couple of them.
I feel like it will be.
I think so.
Yeah,
how expensive could a Goblin get?
Yeah, it's pretty rare you see a card like this get really expensive.
All right.
Oh, God, we just jinxed the hell out of it.
I know,
Somebody's
God.
going to make a standard deck with it. And it's
Cut this part out. All right. Up next is Spider Sense. We knew it would be a card. I assumed it would have been called Spidey Sense, but, here it is. 1 and a blue for an instant with Web Slinging Blue. We haven't talked about Web Slinging yet this episode, but it's you may cast this spell for blue if you also return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. So you can cast it for cheaper, but you have to bounce a creature. And then counter target instant spell, sorcery spell, or triggered ability. So it's a very narrow counterspell that you can cast for a single blue sometimes. This was an interesting one, and I had a difficult time evaluating it because 2 mana counter an instant sorcery or triggered ability is pretty narrow.
It's not good enough. There's too many arcane denials and counterspells and just regular negates
Delay.
and stuff running out there. Yeah. There's just too many options for a 2 mana counterspell that you really have to say, I can cast this for 1 mana most of the time to even consider it.
Yeah. The only deck that I was like, oh, I know where I could put that is my Lord of Tressorhorn deck, where I have a triggered ability that needs to be countered sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's my problem.
My own thing, yeah. That it's like, it's worth it just for that, right?
Yeah, and it's like, it can counter removal spells where I have a big silly thing. So like, I can picture a scenario where this is good enough, but I don't know if it's going to go in like most blue decks unless they're going really deep down the counterspell rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't even know if you really want to primarily play it for that. To me, I would think that you want the web slinging. So like you have a number of creatures that like want to be bounced back to your hand, or your deck is like built around bouncing things. There are some bounce payoffs like Tamishi and things like that. I looked at Dowerport Mage as like a good signpost. If that's in your deck, then this probably has a good chance to want to be in it. But I don't think it's probably like you could play this unless you actively want to bounce your own things.
Right, like in a blink deck or like a Chulane type thing.
Yeah, then it's like I'm playing a card that's going to be hard to deploy because, it's going to be narrow about what it can hit. But when it finds a thing, I'm almost happy to fire off in anything reasonable because I'll get the added value of bouncing this thing back to my hand, getting some payoff there or replaying it, and that's what I want.
That's what I was thinking about with this card is I almost wish that there was a way to cast this without targeting something.
Yeah, I can just web sling it if I want to. It's just a web sling.
Yeah, just blue, return a creature to my hand, and then this counter ability on top of that. Like if it said counter up to 1 target or something like that. I don't even know if that works, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then I could rescue a card from a board wipe or something. That modality would feel really good, but timing up a counter spell with a rescue is pretty tricky.
Yeah, I'd say the triggered ability probably will work in that respect where like you'll find a fetch land or something.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's not like...
That's not a triggered ability. That's an activated ability.
Oh, you're right. Oh, that'll be harder.
Yeah.
But there will probably be something along those lines where it's like, I don't really care about what I'm countering. It's going to make them a little mad, but like, I really just want to bounce this thing. Yeah. I think it's probably not going to see a ton of play. When you read it at first, you think Swan Song and Offer You Can't Refuse, but it's just not those things.
Yeah, but it also has to compete with Swan Song and an Offer You Can't Refuse.
It's just like, hey, those don't have any qualifiers. They just work.
Pretty tough. Those are good ones.
This next one's interesting.
We're in the spider section of the Spider-Man.
It's true. We were in the Peter Parker section for a second. And then, all right, Spider-Verse is 3 red for an enchantment. It says the legend rule doesn't apply to spiders you control.
Sure.
Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste. Do this only once each turn. I expect the sacrifice clause to be there, but it's not.
Nope.
Which is very interesting.
It's comparable to Nelfeshne, which is like only cast from exile and doesn't make you sacrifice the permanents when you copy it. But yeah, this is like more open-ended than Nelfeshne, 1 mana cheaper, and works for more locations. It's cast from graveyard, you can double up. Cast from top of your library, you can double up. Cast from exile, cascade stuff, you double the spell you cascade into. Gross.
I didn't think about that. That's
Like-
nuts. Really good in cascade, yeah.
I think there's a lot more applications for this card than just cast from exile, which a lot of people are going to see just because Nelfeshne exists.
And Cast from Exile is going to be very good in those decks, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a Rocco Street Chef type of deck, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit narrow, but when it's good, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a little better than Imposter Syndrome, and that's mostly because it costs 1 less mana, I suppose.
Probably. And it's in red, so it's competing with a little bit less in that department.
A little harder for your opponents to stop. Like, if you put this out and you have cards you can cast from exile, that's really harder for them to interact with than, like, say, you have to deal combat damage.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you stick this and they can't kill you, you untap, and it's like, well, I really can't stop you from casting things from exile. It's hard to do that, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about this in like an Anya Falcon Wrath deck. Like if you're actually doing the
Madnessing.
madness
That's
Anya,
cool.
or like that's pretty sweet and gives you a lot of extra oomph behind it, which is pretty fun. Again, this is sort of an over-the-top style card. It's if you are doing, do more. It is not going to help you when you cannot get the thing doing.
Yeah, it's Panharmonicon. I put kind of like Panharmonicon, but for cast from exile decks. But you've opened my eyes. It's actually for more than just cast from exile decks.
Flashback and stuff. Okay, on to the next cool land.
This is a cool land.
It is Urban Retreat. This is similar to Oscorp. It enters tapped. It adds green, white, and blue, so it's Bant. And it's 2, return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. Put this card from your hand onto the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's basically unkeyworded web sling, because I think web sling is an alternate casting cost. You can't cast a land. So it's...
Right. But you can kind of web sling this out as a way to ramp it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And
Yeah.
it's perfect in the kind of decks that we were just talking about with the web slinging upsides, where it's like, I want to bounce a Wall of Omens to my hand if I can get a Wall of Omens tapped, I guess.
Yeah, that's hard. The tapping part.
That's
the tapping
hard.
part, yeah.
A different one.
This little spirited companion or something like that. Like
You can find a place to attack with it, yeah.
Yeah, and usually if you get it on 2, you probably can. Mm-hmm. And then this becomes a rampant growth.
Then it's great.
Yeah. A rampant growth that like got you some value because presumably the thing you're bouncing is going to provide value when you recast it.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a Seaside Citadel. At the end of the day, it's just a Seaside Citadel.
Yeah, just like the, what was the other one called? The
Oscorp.
Grixis one. Yeah, just like the Grixis one, the floor is not that bad. It just is a card that both of us play still because the 3-color Tri-lands are just still good enough to play.
Yeah.
And this can't be worse than that. It just has this other ability, which is like, oh. And you might be able to like combine it with like a Peregrine Drake or something and do gross things.
Do something gross. Yeah.
So there's pretty decent upside and pretty low downside. I just think if you're straight Bant, probably playing this almost every time.
Yep.
And then once you get up to 4 and 5 colors, you'll need a little bit of synergy, but not much.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on to Villainous Wrath.
Villainous Wrath is 3 black for a sorcery. Target opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures they control, then destroy all creatures.
Take that, Scoot Swarm.
Not only solve the problem,
And
but
also this,
Yeah,
Scoot Swarm.
exactly.
I do think
You know what?
it just doubles down on, like, it just wrecks the same person twice.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, why are they calling it Villainous Wrath? Because this feels like it hurts the arch enemy. It
Right.
hurts the villain.
Yeah.
This is a heroic move,
Right.
not a villainous move.
Yeah, but it goes too far. More than just destroying the creatures, it hurts them for all the creatures they've just lost.
Yeah.
The weird thing about this that I sort of wish it was different. This is how it works. So when you cast it, you have to name a target.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, if somebody has a heroic intervention or something, you can't be like, punish you, the guy who gets to keep all your stuff.
Yeah, it's not like it triggers afterwards and then you choose one of them.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
For like
That
who
would've
have
been cool
died
design.
this way, I think that like makes it feel a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, destroy all creatures. Then
Yeah. For each creature that died this
dies.
way, like the target player loses that much. You can't choose a player that lost.
yeah, for each, and then they lose life equal to the creature that died this way.
That died this turn.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a more interesting board wipe. This one is definitely like you who are losing the most, you also lose more. But
you probably like earned it.
yeah,
You probably
yes.
deserve it. Like,
Also, you're probably killing them.
yeah, maybe.
Right? Like, that's the interesting thing about this card is it's like, it's not a great wrath, but it might kill a player, which means it's probably worth playing.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was sort of my big question because there's so many wraths now, and 5 mana for a wrath is a lot. Does this deal damage thing or lose life thing? Does this push it into the playability echelon?
I mean, I love a Rakdos Charm, and like another copy of Rakdos Charm is just kind of sweet, but it does live.
Rakdos Charm is 2 mana.
And an instant.
Yeah. It's like way better for a couple of reasons. And does
Yeah.
other things if that
Right.
mode is not good.
This does other things. It destroys other things.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you do need wraths in your deck. So
Yeah.
my question is like, should we kick out something we're using now?
Yeah, I don't think it's better than like Toxic. It might be better than Damnation.
Yeah, that's actually, I guess, kind of the question, right? Because
Yeah.
is that the number 2 black board wipe go-to? I mean, there's obviously synergy ones
right.
that push their way in based on like if you're a dragon deck or whatever, but
Right. I don't know what deck this synergizes with. I think it feels like it's supposed to compete on the generically good side. I guess Blasphemous Edict is one we didn't mention. That's the sacrifice 13 creatures. That's a very good one.
yeah, it's hard to replace this with that or
right.
that with this. Yeah.
Even though that's 5 mana, it has the upside of being 1 mana.
Yeah.
So it may be tough to find a spot for this one, but if you're in a token meta where there's one deck that you're like, we have to be able to answer Gary's deck, then Villainous Wrath will super duper answer Gary's board.
Maybe just get rid of Gary from that game too.
Yeah. Okay, a big one. This is Web of Life and Destiny. It is 6 green for an enchantment with Convoke. Thank goodness. At the beginning of combat on your turn, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Happens at the beginning of combat. So you play this first main, you get a creature right away, which is good because you just tapped your whole board.
Yeah. But still, if this costs 4,
Yeah, that's insane.
freaking great.
Yeah. The thing I was thinking about this, I was like, if you can get this down on turn 4, I mean, it's incredible. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, because you get a creature, which you probably would have cast for whatever the 4 or 5 mana is anyway.
Right. It draws you
then-
the creature.
Yeah, it draws you the creature and gives you the mana, but you spent the mana on this thing.
Sure, yeah.
So, but it replaces itself. And then anything past that point, you're just continuing to just gain value for no additional investment.
Yeah.
The Convoke's doing a lot of lifting here because if
It is.
this thing, but we know from Great Henge and everything else, like if you can reduce the cost, you will buy a lot, and sometimes this will only be 2.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll be 2. That's a big
rare.
cost is to tap 6 creatures. But that was sort of the thing I was thinking about is like if this comes down on turn 6, it feels like it's too late.
There's not enough turns in the game to get the value back.
You get maybe 2 creatures and you've spent like 5 mana on it probably and like tapped a creature. And once you're in the late game, it's harder and harder for you to tap your creatures without like actually creating a threat. So I feel like you have to be in a deck that can meaningfully convoke this thing out early, and then it's going to feel incredible.
Yeah, because remember, this does both sides of the rampant card draw part. The card you get off of it, that's a card that you basically drew, you just also played it. So it also gave you the mana to play it. So you don't actually need to get that great. Like, I think a lot of people think about this and like, I want to get an 8-drop off of this. No, if you get a 3-drop, it's still pretty good because you drew a card and it gave you 3 mana. So it gave you a card and 3 mana. And then sometimes you get a 5 and a 6-drop and it feels incredible. And it's just going to be steady. And it also, like, if they board wipe, this will get you back into a little bit faster. Like, it just will provide a lot. Yeah, I didn't really think about the late game stuff as much. I guess I'm not as worried about that these days though, because it feels like games just don't end and you don't have cards in your hand, so you just don't play this if you draw it on turn 7 or whatever. Okay.
Loot it away.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, this one's not coming
late
out
for
this
this one.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when in the games where I do draw it early and I manage to get it out on turn 4, whoo,
It's gonna,
That's just a thing your opponent's going to have to deal with.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's this card's really interesting. I think if you're like play a lot of cheap creatures, if you play a lot of mana dorks, like if you're actually accelerating in the creature department, it's going to feel incredible.
I like this design a lot too for Commander in that it's not like one big explosive win the game right now type of card.
Yeah.
It will be incremental, and I don't know. I kind of like that. I like it when games feel like, we inch toward victory and it's not like nothing mattered and then this thing mattered and that
then
was
you
it.
cast the biggest spell and we all died.
Yeah, it's like that card is going to win you the game, but I'm going to have a chance between now and then to try and mitigate it somehow or come up with my own engine or whatever. I like that kind of push and pull.
Yeah. All right. We have one more card to talk about today, and appropriately and alphabetically.
It is with great power, ellipses. It is an enchantment aura for 3 and a white. It says enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. And then it also
with great power.
Yep. And then it also says all damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead.
The responsibility.
That is a big responsibility. Yeah. That's funny.
So it's Pariah. It's Pariah with a buff attached to it.
Yeah, kind of with all that glitters, a version of that.
Right. So this is Pariah is a really neat card, and if you're playing Pariah, you want as many Pariahs as you possibly can. That is the redirect effect.
Yeah, there's a prize shield. There's some other things that do it. Yep.
Yeah, and it's mostly you're equipping it to something that would like to be damaged or is preventing the damage that is dealt to it.
Yep.
So that's like a stuffy doll or even the new anti-Venom. We talked about this card. And then the other side is all that glitters, which is just like an absolute hammer in aura and equipment decks. So I think it's cool that this goes in 2 different decks and gives you a Pariah that you can kind of sneak into the deck without it feeling super dead. And if you don't have all that glitters or Pariah in the deck, you're probably not playing this.
Yeah. I think you've got one or the other in your deck, and that tells you want this. And then if you have either one or the other, Pariah or all the glitters, you probably do want this. It's pretty cool, actually, I think, that a deck that would only want all the glitters and not really Pariah is suddenly like, well, but I will play this now.
Yeah, and now I have a Pariah.
Yeah, and now in some decks where I got my Voltron creature like really big and scary and protection from whatever and indestructible, I'm really hard to kill in that game.
Yeah.
Like nothing can touch me. And that just gives you an added angle, but it also like gives what I really want, which is hit you really hard. So yeah, I love Pariah. I've tried to build around it many times. It's really hard.
It's really hard. And having one more goes a long way, actually.
When it works, it feels great, but man, it doesn't work very often.
In the meantime, yeah, we talked a lot about it when we were talking about anti-Venom, because we were just like, look, this is a 5-mana commander that you need to get a 3-mana aura on. That's tough.
Good luck.
In white.
Yeah, and even when you do that, they can still sometimes deal with it. And it's just,
bounce.
Yeah.
You're like, no!
Yeah.
All right. It's very cool if you can pull it off. I hope to see it across the battlefield.
Yeah, good luck.
Me.
Send me some pictures of it when you do.
All right. That is what we're going to talk about for Spider-Man, but that means it's time to talk about our favorite card that we talked about today and the most powerful.
All right, why don't you start, Rachel? What is your favorite card that we talked about here today? Favorite card from Spider-Man in the 99?
This kind of surprised me, but I went back through them and I really kept coming back to Hide on the Ceiling. I just think it's the kind of card that feels really cool in your hand and you can do some really neat stuff with it. And I love anytime they print a card that I'm like, oh, this didn't exist. That's awesome. Like, it's a card that feels like it should exist. It's really cool and it's going to do a lot of neat things in the game. Got a lot of play to it.
I like that card a lot. I think, we're going to see it a lot. It's just very effective at a lot of different things. Mine was Shadow of the Goblin. Mono red card. But it's also not surprising, right? Like Josh picked the 2-drop rummaging/looter.
Yeah, I mean, this card's sweet. It's going to be a cool payoff. It's going to be a great engine in the decks where it eventually pays stuff off, and nobody's going to remove it, even though they might should. Yeah,
it's just the kind of, it'll feel so bad to remove that over so many other things. I like to find that line and then be right under it when you can. That's where looters kind of are. Like Kitza kind of sits right there too, where it's just like, that's why I love Kitza so much.
Yeah, like Ripples of Undeath is another one of these kind of 2-mana setup cards that you're just like, feels great when it's in play, and it's going to be incredible.
It's going to give me the perfect amount of value that doesn't activate the alarm on my opponent's brain. That's, it's just right under that line. All right, most powerful card. I'll do the obvious one.
Yep.
The Soul Stone.
Yep.
Which I think is hard to argue with.
It just does too much. It's 2 mana. It does a lot.
Its floor is like very high.
Yeah,
and its ceiling is also kind of high.
that is true. It's just like, it's not like one of those cards where you're like, wow, this is going to blow the game wide open. But it is definitely like, well, that is a really high floor, isn't it?
Yeah, just at its worst, it's very good. You can't concoct scenarios where it's bad, right? Like it's just an indestructible 2 mana rock comes in untapped. What? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we would just play that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, also,
by the way, sometimes
it'll win you the game.
Yeah.
It's great on turn 2. It's great on turn 7. It's great.
What did you pick as most powerful card?
For the sake of conversation, I picked Peter Parker's Camera. I think this card's cool and is like, does level up a card that still gets played a lot. And it's like Stronic Resonator, or even like the equipment that double activated abilities, the bracers.
Yep.
Illusionist
bracers. I always want to say lightning bracers, but because there's a lot of lightning in the art.
Yeah, there's also a lightning. I think there's a red one that's called lightning something. Anyway, there's a couple of versions of that effect. It's much more efficient than both of those. It's easier to find. It's colorless, and it's just gonna like do what you needed to do when you needed to do it. The thing that I didn't mention when we were talking about it that's really cool about this card is you can copy fetch lands.
Oh, yeah.
So you can ramp with
that's
it.
sweet.
So you can play this on turn 1, play a fetch land on turn 2, activate it, copy the fetch ability. No, you can't, because you need it's on 3.
Yeah, you got to do it on 3.
You need the mana to pay.
But still, it's like a rampant growth.
But it's a rampant growth in colorless, as long as you're running the fetch lands.
It's 3 rampant growths.
Which is
pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So even like that floor makes it feel really neat, and can do a lot of like cool, tricky stuff.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Stronic Resonator, and I've just felt in recent years like it has been pretty tough to play. So knocking 1 mana off, that's 25% less mana for the whole thing to start going is a big deal.
Yeah,
and a lot easier to just sort of get it out there.
Yeah, and even more flexible. All right.
Very cool.
To the listeners, what do you guys think about this set? Are you excited about it? What new cards slide perfectly into your existing Commander decks? And if you haven't checked it out already, go check out our most powerful Spider-Man episode. We talk about a lot of commanders that are really sweet and really busted. We talk about the cards that we play on game nights. Yeah. Every commander that we played on game nights, we're talking about in that episode. So make sure you've checked out that episode as well.
All right. Is it end step now?
Card Kingdom.
Oh. All right. Big thanks to our sponsors, cardkingdom.com/command. That's the place to go to get your Magic products, singles, anything at all. We love Card Kingdom because they have a huge inventory. They have all the cards you're looking for in the condition you're looking for, in the version you're looking for. And also, they are the most professional card retailer in the biz. They get you the stuff as fast as possible, all in one package. Can't overstate how cool that is. So again, cardkingdom.com/command. We use them for all of our own content and everything like that. We're going to Atlanta soon. They provided all the cards for all the decks for Game Nights Live because we don't trust anybody else to get us the right stuff and not mess it up. They always do the best job. That's all I can say. Yeah.
All right. And while you're supporting us over at Card Kingdom, you can go support us at ultrapro.com/command and support your cards and collection. UltraPro has high quality Magic accessories, including the Mana 8 line. Game Nights Live and MagicCon is around the corner. We love the Mana 8 line for events because it's bright, it's white, it's iconic, so it doesn't feel out of date if you get it signed by a bunch of your favorite creators or artists or just the people that you play against. So pick up a Mana 8 playmat or binder before you go to MagicCon. We'll sign it. It'll look cool. Trust us. Again, ultrapro.com/command.
And speaking of Game Nights Live, we are going to be at MagicCon Atlanta. September 26th is the Friday. Of course, MagicCon's going on the entire weekend, but our show, Game Nights Live, is starting at 5 p.m. on Friday. So if you want to come see the show, make sure you get there on Friday before that time. You don't need any additional tickets to see Game Nights Live. If you have a badge for the event, then you can get into our show, and hopefully we will see you there. There's a link in the show notes if you want to pick up badges.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go, this is a long episode already, but I do have an end step.
Yeah.
We've been talking about sort of horror movies a lot on the show recently.
I think it's because fall's coming.
Maybe, yeah.
And we're pretending it's also coming to Los Angeles.
Yeah, so we talked about Sinners, which I know both you and I liked and Jimmy really enjoyed. And then we talked about Weapons, which Jimmy saw and was telling everybody in the office then you see, which I saw this past weekend and really enjoyed. And the funny thing was, while I was watching Weapons, it made me think of a movie that a friend of mine did that I really enjoyed, but I hadn't watched in years. So It Follows.
Yeah. I've seen this one.
Yeah. So I used to work with David Mitchell, who was the writer-director of It Follows. He worked at a place we both did movie trailers together. And this film came out in like 2015, and I probably hadn't seen it in like 5 or 6 years, but while I was watching Weapons, I don't know why, I just kept thinking about It Follows. So then I got home from watching Weapons and watched It Follows. And I just wanted to say that like It Follows is like a really, really good movie. And if you've been following along with kind of our horror movie journey and haven't seen It Follows, or even if you have, but you haven't seen it in a while, I believe it's on HBO. Is it called HBO Max? Is it called Max?
It's
Whatever
called
their
Max.
streaming service
You guys
is called
know
right now.
which one.
Yeah. I would recommend checking it out if you know, well, rewatch it or whatever. And also the cool thing is, as I was doing this, I haven't talked to David in probably like 5+ years. I found out that he's currently working on the sequel to it called They Follow.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's on the horizon as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to mention it. Give a shout out to another cool horror movie that I really like. So
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching.
You know, it's shot in Michigan, so it's kind of shot.
It's shot in Michigan? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
That's
kind
cool.
of shot. It's not in Chicago, but it's like your neck of the woods.
It's in the mid.
Yeah, it's in the mid.
It's in the Middle East
Yeah.
of the...
The Midwest, I think is what you mean.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We're more on the east side. Anybody who says we're west... Anyway, before we go, we got to say thank you to our amazing team who made this episode and all of our episodes possible. So thank you to Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jordan Pridge and Jake Boss, Becky Bell, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and of course, Jimmy Wong.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
All right. Bye.